If you want to
Yo,
continue.
Fundy. Sorry.
Yes, I know the right hand rule. What the right hand rule is? I don't know why you
The
keep
right
bringing
hand
that up.
rule of how electromagnetic fields circulate around a current going through wire or conductor or whatever has nothing to do about being on a planet that's rotating. So you want to take the
I know
back?
you brought up the electromagnetic effect, and I was saying yes, I understand what that is.
Yeah, you said that's because the Earth is rotating, which made no sense.
No,
You
no,
just
I
said it
wasn't talking about the right
on
hand rule.
Rumble.
I wasn't saying that's what
Yeah,
the right
I
hand rule
asked
applies to
you.
the spin of the
I
Earth.
asked you, why do you think the right hand rule is always a clockwise rotation instead of counterclockwise? You, for some reason, said because the Earth's rotating. What?
No,
Yeah, that is their
Yeah.
explanation. Well, that is
that has nothing to do with electromagnetism. The clockwise motion, or sorry, the motion, the right hand rule has nothing to do with the Earth's rotation.
Try again. Speak clearly.
The right hand rule has nothing to do with the rotation of the Earth.
well,
Okay,
it does.
but
It
that's
does
how
from the
you
point of
answered.
the Earth's magnetic field, though. If you had a huge hand that was the size of the ball, and then you did the right hand rule on the electrical field, it would match in the globe model.
So, why do you think the right hand rule is a clockwise rotation? It's the right hand rule for a reason because it's never a clockwise rotation. Why do you think that is?
Are you asking me about electromagnets or the rotation in a ring laser gyroscope?
I'm talking about electricity, electromagnetism.
Yes,
The
the right
right-hand
hand rule has to do with the electrical current and the magnetic field it produces.
Right, and why should it always be a clockwise rotation? Is there something about universal mechanics going on here? Does it play favorites? In your opinion,
No,
why do you think it's always clockwise?
we assigned a value to what positive and negative are. It could have been the opposite of that. You realize that, right? We just arbitrarily assigned positive.
No,
And
it couldn't have been because it's always one way.
do you know that like there's the positive and negative could have been the exact opposite of what it is, right? You get that, right?
So we're just gonna rewrite reality. All right, you're God.
And
Rewrite
you
reality.
know that
Okay, good argument.
do you also know that the current flow is the opposite of the flow of electrons? Do you know that?
Yeah. I mean, I
You do?
understand that's the narrative of how they explain it, but that still doesn't matter. The rotation isn't just because you redefine it and call one thing and one doesn't matter. It
Exactly
doesn't
my
make things
point.
spin in opposite
It could have
direction.
been the left-hand rule.
No, but it is related to.
But the phenomena is still consistently one direction, whether you want to call it
Right.
positive, net, whatever. The phenomena is still the same thing. And why is it always that same way?
The same reason that the aorta pump, the arteries pump out the blood from the heart, and the ventricles pump it back
No,
in. What?
no, that's not even similar at all.
That's not analogous.
Okay.
Well, Fundy's question as to why it's always doing that.
That's the laws of physics. What do you want to say?
What that's what I'm wondering is, are you linking it to something further? Well, can I just say real quick? So
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, let me just get like 20 seconds here, and then I don't know if you and Q Up are going to finish your discussion as
No,
well.
no, that's good.
Because this is a potentially like Fundy, it is related, but it also could go into another topic. But let me just post this real quick. So for anyone just talking about this, so that's what I was saying. If you were in terms of the rotation of the Earth, if you were to put your fist like that, like in the middle of the globe Earth, your fingers, the way your fingers wrap around like that, your four fingers show the idea of the globe that's rotating west to east. And that's in the globe model. But the thing is that that's actually related to the sky, is what I would say. So it has to do with the vortices in the sky. And that's where maybe, I don't know if Fundy was going there with it, but in terms of
the right-hand rule doesn't even
why is there this magnetic vortex of what we live in? I don't know if that's the direction he was going, because to me, I mean, they say it's the rotation of the globe Earth, but really they're getting that from the fact that the sky rotates, and I would just say it's actually the sky itself, the vortex nature of the sky.
the magnetic field goes north to south or south to north, and so it's not even along the axis of rotation. So I don't know why what one has to do with the other. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but
The right-hand
the-
rule,
Just telling
I
you,
would
man.
say the right-hand rule is connected to how electricity and electromagnetic fields and magnetic fields function in
Yep.
electricity. It also relates to what the sky does. And then if you're going to also go to the idea of being on a globe with the globe rotating, it would relate to the globe rotating in the way I said with the right-hand rule. If you put your, if you were to able to grab onto the axis, north-south axis that the globe Earth is claimed to be rotating on, you were to grab it with your hand with your 4 fingers, just like that thing above, and wrap your fingers around it, and then it's like the thumbs up. It's like doing the thumbs up
I
the
get what
middle
you're saying.
in the middle of the globe Earth with your thumb being the North Pole. Anyways, and so it's related to that as well. But and I'm just saying it's actually related to what the sky does, and then it's also related to electromagnetic fields. And I thought maybe Fundy was going like that. It has something to do that is always going that same direction. That's related to. I don't know.
Well,
what
the
Yeah,
magnetic field,
I was tying into that.
the magnetic field doesn't even line up with the poles, and the rotation. The magnetic field goes from the south to the north. Magnetic fields, not even the poles, the celestial poles or the geometric poles, so that they don't have anything to do with
Yeah.
each other.
Well, they do. I mean,
They're
that's
more
just
aligned than
that's
they
the
are.
nuance. That's just a nuance of the slight difference between the
What?
magnetic fields. That's just a slight nuance. The
No,
magnetic
the magnetic field goes
magnetic
north and
field-
south. The right hand rule doesn't apply.
It does. The right hand, your thumb is north, and then the base of your hand is south in the right hand
Oh,
rule.
The magnetic field goes north to south. That is not the electric field. You're saying rotation.
On the globe Earth, the electric field is a massive toroidal field that surrounds the ball.
Heck, you want to try again, guys, or what?
It's north to south. Yes, it's north to south. So your fingers would go from south to north or north to south. So you'd be pointing out the side of the ball if the north was at the top. So
Hey, the
it's
other
not a
dude's
thumbs
back.
up. Yeah.
No, you'd be
yeah, you can go ahead.
No, you'd be pointing.
You know the magnetic field's like your compass, right? It points north and south, right? It follows the magnetic field. So
Yeah, and if
it
you
goes from south to north. So your thumb would be pointing out the side of the ball.
No, the thumb is pointing up to the North Pole. That's
Okay,
what
then why do the magnetic fields go up and down, not
I don't
side
know
to
what, I
side
don't know
like
what
you're
you
doing?
mean by that. We'd have to break down what you mean by up and down, because the magnetic field, the electric and magnetic field on the globe Earth theory, the globe Earth idea is essentially a toroid that goes through the center of the sphere. The center of the sphere is where the toroid meets, like the shape like an apple, like where it meets at the core in the middle. That core is the axis at which the Earth rotates. Yes, it's claimed to be slightly off, in terms of like the actual magnetic South Pole. They claim is like out in the ocean, like next to Antarctica instead of right on Antarctica. So it is like claimed to be tilted, but it's also claimed to be moving as well. But it's a toroidal field that basically surrounds the whole globe Earth. And the right-hand rule is related to it because if you took that toroid and just like if you wrapped your fingers around like the core of an apple or around the axis, the alleged axis of the rotation of the globe, your thumb pointing up is the North Pole. Your fingers wrapping around show that idea of the globe Earth rotating
Oh,
west.
no, the magnetic field goes from south to north. It doesn't go around the spin of the globe. And the magnetic field is where
Yeah,
your fingers
yeah.
are, not where your thumb is. So your thumb would be pointing out the side of the globe if you were doing what you were doing, because the magnetic field goes north to south. So and that's your 4 fingers. That's the right hand, your 4 fingers, and therefore your thumb is pointing out the side of the earth.
Ooh,
Okay, you'd have to
Gil,
show
that
what
was
you're
brutal, buddy.
describing. That you'd have to show what you
It's
think.
easy. It's easy,
Well,
Gio.
let me speak
The
now. Let me
toroidal
speak now.
field, the
You're not finished?
toroidal field.
You want to go again? Okay, go again.
Yeah, the toroidal field
Yeah, I want to hear him
is the
again. Go
magnetic
ahead.
field,
Yeah.
and it goes from south to north. So put your fingers going from south to north. That's the curl. So the electric field would be going out the side of the ball. It has nothing to do with north and south.
Oh, he doesn't understand perpendicularity of a magnetic and electric fields. That's hilarious.
Oh, this guy's back.
I'm going to respond now. Whatever, that's just an ad hom. We're not going to do that, so don't do that. I'm talking
Ad
to
hom.
right
I
now.
just said you don't understand something.
Yeah,
Scrappy's getting scrappy.
just an ad hom and is not related to what's actually being discussed. You just fabricated and made that up because I haven't even responded. And you're just absolutely wrong and just trolling and heckling. Anyway, so yeah, just to be clear, what I'm referring to, Wesley, I'm going to post this again. That's just showing one in terms of a right-hand rule. Like what I'm referring to is the actual motion. And then this image shows like a toroidal field around a globe Earth. So I don't know what you're referring to by anything going out of the side. The toroidal field comes through the center of the ball, up and loops around. So if if you were to combine those two images, like the first one I posted, all I'm saying is that part of the right-hand rule is your fingers wrapping around show that it's if you're looking at it from above, it's a counterclockwise rotation. If you're looking at your thumb downward, is the right-hand rule. And that counterclockwise, if you're looking at it from above, that rotation is related to the way the sky moves. Therefore, it's related to the way the globe Earth claims the globe is rotating, and it's connected to electromagnetic fields. And that's all I was saying. So I'm not sure what you're
Okay,
talking about.
so
The thumb
yeah,
would
so
never.
So the
in the
sky,
right
the
hand,
sky
hold on a
moves.
second.
Lastly, let me just say the very last thing. The thumb would never be going out the side. It would always be going up because the thumb is north and the North Pole on the globe.
No, the magnetic to electric field is the right hand rule. The right hand rule, the magnetic fields are your fingers. Well, just like you did it, Gio, the magnetic field are your fingers, not your thumb. And in that picture you posted, the globe, the fingers and the thumbs are going from north to south. You even have it there. So the thumb is going out the side of the earth. If you apply just what you said, but actually use it the way you said it, the magnetic fields are those lines going from south to north. So you have to tilt your hand sideways, and the electric field would be going out the side of the earth, not at the poles.
Could you show a visual? Because I'm not able to, unless someone else
Yeah,
wants to.
turn the screen that you posted at 8:35, turn it to the side.
So you agree? Because
Just
what
look
I'm
at-
saying is only just steel manning the globe Earth. Like this right here, which shows a right-hand rule, an image with a coil.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you were to put the globe Earth there with north and south, the thumb is going up to the north, just as I've said. And then that little where it says I, and then it's making that little curl around his index finger, that is what's the rotation of the magnetic field in terms of the vortex nature of it, which, like I said, is counterclockwise if you're looking at it, looking downward on it, which is why that looks like it's counterclockwise in that image. And then that represents the counterclockwise from above rotation of the globe Earth. But ultimately, I think that's actually just coming from the sky originally. So what I'm saying is not incorrect. I'm just steel manning the globe model. I understand if what you're saying is actually saying what I'm saying is not correct, because I'm just steel manning the mainstream model in terms of the magnetic field and how it works on a globe, or whether you're discussing another facet or something different than what's being discussed. So I don't know if you have an image to show what you're saying.
Yeah, Eclipse did it just right below you at 8:37. The magnetic field are your fingers. They're going top to bottom. And so the electric field would be going perpendicular to that, which would be out the side of the earth.
Well, yeah, there's the centripetal and centripetal forces, centripetal and centrifugal forces, and then there's the vertical and horizontal field lines. So yeah, I mean, there is the flow that's going like the way a toroidal field is, where it goes out the bottom, up around the top, down. So yeah, you have those lines, but the axis is the bar in the middle there, and that's what I'm saying. If you wrap your fingers around it, and you have your thumb in the north and the base of your hand in the south, that would represent one part of the field. I think we're actually just talking about two parts of the field. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure we're even really disagreeing, because there's the motion going through the axis, up and around, through the axis, up and around on the toroidal field concept on the globe. And those are those field lines you're talking about. Those are going north to south. And then there's also the rotation of the Earth itself, having that counterclockwise from above, which also relates to the field lines of a magnetic field, because they're pulling that from the sky.
Yeah, the right hand rule, at least the way that I learned it in electrical engineering, is that your thumb, just like Fundy says, it goes in the direction of the electrical field, and the magnetic field are your four fingers. So when I look at what you're posting, the magnetic field are your four fingers, and they're going from top to bottom or bottom to top. And that's why I'm saying if there was an electric field, it would be going out the side of the earth. But I can see how you're envisioning it, and that's fine. So I'll give it up to
Well,
Flatten.
All right, no, here,
What-
let me
what do you
post
think?
this image. Hold on, let me post this image because it kind of looks perfect, even though I haven't really read it. That's what they claim Earth's motions through space. So
Yeah,
don't know
no,
why
I agree. I
don't
agree
know
with
why
that.
anyone was saying anything I said was wrong. Why anyone would ever say that? The image I just posted completely shows what I'm showing. You put a ball in your hand, the rotation of the ball, the motion of the Earth around the sun, the magnetic field is all completely related.
No, the magnetic field has nothing to do with what you just posted. If you want to, I agree with this right hand rule, but that has nothing to do with the magnetic field.
It's the Nettles right-hand rule for Earth's motion through space.
Yep, nothing to do with magnetic field. There's in that picture you posted, it has nothing to do with the magnetic field.
The magnetic field is surrounding the globe Earth, and the field lines.
Yeah, but
of
it's
the
not in
globe-
that picture. In the
field lines of-
magnetic. Go ahead.
the field lines of a toroidal field in the globe Earth, like this image too, looks like it shows where it has sort of an axis and it's got the dude over there with his right hand rule and the rotation, the axis of rotation. I mean, are you denying that the axis of rotation of the globe Earth theory is related to the way that the fingers curl around when you're looking at the axis of rotation of the field with the right hand rule?
No, the motion of the Earth has nothing to do with the magnetic field. In my opinion, I could be wrong about that, but the first one that you posted has nothing to do with the magnet. The one that Gally just posted again, nothing in there about the magnetic field. I agree about with the rotation and the movement through space, but again, that in my mind that has nothing to do with it. That has to do with rotation and then the orbit. So, but again, I think we're talking past each other, which I'm fine to give up to somebody else.
Well, I mean, I'll just read this from the good old AI overview. The right-hand rule defines the direction of the Earth's angular velocity vector along its axis of rotation, pointing directly toward geographic north. Curl your fingers of your right hand in the direction of that the Earth rotates from west to east. Point your thumb. You extend your thumb, point straight toward the North Pole. Vector direction. The matching thumb direction represents the positive axis for the Earth's rotation and angular momentum vectors. Because the Earth spins counterclockwise when viewed from above to the North Pole, precisely what I was saying, it follows this standard right-hand convention known as prograde motion. And that
Where's magnetic field? Where's magnetic field in any of that?
I'm referring to the right-hand rule. The magnetic field is also related to the right-hand rule as well, though.
Oh, if you're saying they're two different things, I agree with you 100%, Gio. I thought you were trying to conflate the motion of the Earth with the magnetic field.
Well, they're related. It's all related.
They're not. No, they're not. The magnetic field is starting to flip on the Earth. I promise you the rotation of the Earth will not flip with it.
The flip is coming. It's upon us. The judgment day. Jesus will return.
The pole flip is coming.
The flip is coming. The UFO disclosure is coming. We will be probed with the
for
chip.
real.
The EMP. It'll wipe out all our technology.
The EMP is gonna kill us. Fuck foods and guns.
The graphic that Geo posted and Earth's magnetic field are related. They're not like solely unrelated. There's actually an important relation.
Yes.
You guys know that Earth's field
Where's that at?
Earth's field is generated by electric currents in the molten iron core, right? You agree with
Yes.
that? Right. So those currents are driven by certain processes. They produce a magnetic field the same way any current does. The same right-hand rule, current to field, applies. So
okay. So what does that have to do with the rotation of the Earth?
Sorry, I'm not done yet. The geometry is pretty complex, but to say they're unrelated is untrue.
Oh my gosh, semantics.
No,
I mean,
related. You said they were unrelated to Geo, but they are related, and they're
not. As far as the right-hand rule, they are completely unrelated.
I wasn't done talking. Stop interrupting. They are related.
Oh.
Okay, so left lane now gets a chance to interrupt.
You guys just chill, dude. Just let someone finish.
You guys just suck.
Just let Galatex finish what he's saying, and then I wanted to say something too. Go ahead.
I'm all good. They can do this all day long.
Okay, so then I'll say my thing real quick. So the right-hand rule is something that basically only it indicates a way of identifying like a direction of like a positive direction within an axis of 3 dimensions. So the right-hand rule itself is just, and then it's applied to different things. So, but these things are all interrelated. Like the claimed electromagnetic field of the Earth is directly connected to the right-hand rule. The way that the Earth, they claim, rotates and goes through space is directly related to the right-hand rule. Like I said, if you wrap your hand basically around a ball, your fingers are wrapping in the way that they claim the Earth is rotating. That's all related to the sky. So yeah, I mean, they're completely related, Wesley. They're all related to the right-hand rule.
Yeah, but they're not the way that. Hold on a second. The way that you're describing is not correct, because if that were the case, then as the poles are shifting, so should the rotation of the Earth, and it's not.
No, the axis remains the same.
Yes, I agree. But the
But
magnetic poles
the
are
magnetic
changing.
field poles
You just
change. That's why it's
Yep.
not
Yep.
true north. But the electric,
you,
you saying it's not related.
you
The electric currents is what generates the magnetic fields. So what are you talking about?
I think what he's sort of saying is
Correct. They're
he's maybe saying that the electromagnetic field, like imagine that toroidal field that surrounds the globe Earth. I think he's trying to say that maybe that's not directly related to why the Earth is spinning. Is that what you're saying?
no, yeah, they're the right hand rule for the motion
Yes,
through
it
space
is.
and the rotation of the Earth. That's one thing, and then you have the electric and magnetic field. Those two are not related, other than yes, the overall motion of the Earth and the orbit of the Earth and how it was created. That does affect the magnetic field, but the magnetic field is slowly flipping. That's not changing any motion or rotation of the Earth.
The
So
pole
those
flips
two are
on
not
the
unless you're
related.
just appealing to something that hasn't happened, we don't know what will happen.
No, it has. It's measurably
I,
moving. We can measure the movement of the
Yeah.
Yeah,
poles.
well, we
I
didn't
was
say it doesn't move. We didn't say it doesn't move. We said it's not. I don't believe it's gonna flip. What the hell's wrong?
yeah,
All
I
right.
Well,
was
it's going
taught
that
that
So,
direction.
electric
Maybe it
I
won't.
wanted
dynamo.
to hold on. We can make a list. Maybe I'll go 20 seconds. Rakia, Wesley wants to get back in. We'll just go one at a time. So let me just say my thing for like 20 seconds. So the thing is I mean, I was trying to steel man you if you were saying that the magnetic field is not related to the Earth spin, but it is in the globe model. So I'm just gonna do this real quick, just because I am gonna just like be referencing the AI thing real quick, just because it does say the mainstream thing, just to see if we're on the same page. I'm just gonna read like 3 sentences and then I'll be done. All right, this first one. Yes, the Earth's magnetic and electric fields obey the same fundamental laws of electromagnetism that uses the right-hand rule. Okay, so that's that the Earth's electric and magnetic fields follow the right-hand rule. That's the mainstream view. The next
We
one.
agree. We agree. I
Okay, you
agree with
agree?
you.
Okay. Okay, the next one. Okay. So you agree on that one. So the next one, the rotation of the Earth relates to the right-hand rule through the definition of its axial tilt and angular velocity vector.
Agree. That's a separate one. I agree with both of those.
Okay, so those were the two I was saying. And then lastly, yes, the Earth's magnetic field is directly related to the planet's spin through a process called the geodynamo effect.
False.
Okay. I don't know about that one, but it is changing, so it's not going to change the rotation of the Earth. Is my point. That the right hand rule, if you're using the right hand rule and equating magnetic field and spin, you can't do that with the right hand rule.
So
But
the
that may
dynamo,
be accurate.
the,
But I'll
the
give it up because
dynamo.
somebody else wanted to get in. Go
My
ahead.
God, the dynamo is the moving Earth core in their model.
The Earth is not an electric motor.
But they say that the part of the reason it's spinning is because of the geodynamo effect of the Earth's magnetic field. I hear what Wesley's saying as well. So that's what I'm saying, Wesley. I don't even really think we were disagreeing, but you kept saying no, and I'm not sure, but I don't even think we really were disagreeing. But because the thing is, when I was talking about the globe Earth and the way that it rotates, that's what I was referring to, the right hand rule. And then yeah, we were discussing the magnetic field as well. But
Can I
So
ask
is this
a
the
question?
debunk of
those are directly
relativity?
related to the field.
Can I
So
ask
what
a
if Earth
question?
isn't spinning relativistically and it's everything else spinning around us? Wouldn't that cancel out these magnetic fields? Because if there's no current and there's no spin and there's no dynamo, it's actually
Can I,
still. Then wouldn't that kind of debunk relativity?
can I ask?
What's making the interferometers read rotation?
Oh my God! Trigger award for the day. Left lane. What kind of
Dark matter.
watered down argument from the globe nonsense was that? Where? What the? You've heard us. You've heard us argue this like for hours. Are you serious?
That's where it came. That's where this combo came
It's called
from.
the
The
Sagnac
interferometer.
effect, and there's
So
no
how does it relate?
rotation
How does
of
it
the Earth
relate?
involved in the Sagnac effect at all.
Could I ask a
So
question?
what makes
please?
it read?
I painstakingly went through like the apparatuses and like the two models. What is wrong with you? Do you listen? You're on here all day. You're not listening.
I heard you talk a lot. I didn't see any evidence of anything.
Right, but you can't steel man one thing.
You
He's
can't
asking
see with
what-
your ears.
He's asking what the cause of it is. So
But I said that like twice today.
The
For both models, I said what it is for both models twice today.
Hey, Gio, I'm asking nicely for, could I ask a question, please?
No.
I asked Gio.
Oh, you don't have
Can
to
you
ask me.
cash-
If we're,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just it's open right now. I don't think there's
Can
like
you
a
cash
long.
out
Okay.
me $20, Brandon?
Okay. So the moon rotates. The moon rotates. It has no electric field. Mars rotates. it has no electric field. Can you explain that?
Well, the first thing I would say is that where are you getting the idea that the moon doesn't have an electric field, or how do you know what the moon is, or how have you detected that, whether it does or doesn't?
Well, that's according to our model, of course.
No, the globe model says it does have an electric field, like a local electric field.
No,
Yeah.
the globe model does not say that the moon has an electric field.
Yes.
The moon is dead. Mars is dead. Right.
Well,
Everything's dead.
just to get the quick Google AI, the first sentence when I type it in, I'm not using it for my argument. I'm just using it because it says what the mainstream says. It says, yes, the moon has localized electric fields and surface charges, even though it is electrically neutral overall. That's the first quick little response it gave.
Yeah, I'm not talking about surface charges. I'm talking about a core, right, that acts like the core of the Earth, which generates a magnetic field enveloping the entire planet. There is no such state for the moon.
Be
Why don't they-
specific next time.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of those tenets you just said, that there's cores of balls so you'd
But
have
this is
to
according to our model. According to our model, of course.
Oh, okay, to the model, yeah. To the
According
conceptual.
to our model, the moon rotates. It does not have a molten core. It does not.
What is the core of the moon in your model?
So that would be something
not-
you'd have to answer then for this concept you've come up with.
No, we're trying to find out how anyone would know that, and the simple question is, if it's not a molten iron core, what is the core?
Wisconsin cheese.
It's just rocks.
I agree.
Oh, it's just rocks, but
Yeah.
they're not molten. So what is
Yeah,
the
it died.
temperature?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
Moon
good
has
answer.
nothing to do with this
It's not
combo.
relevant. It's
We're
not
talking
relevant to
about
the question.
Earth's
Yeah,
magnetic.
because you're
field, not the
stating you
moon.
know that the moon doesn't have this, that, and the other, and the core isn't this, and all that is just unknowable.
No, the question, it's not unknowable, but the question was designed to point out that rotation of a body has nothing to do with whether or not it has a core generating an electric field or magnetic
You're
field.
wrong about that.
Yeah, it
It's
does
not
for the
Earth's
globe, though.
model.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
globe does have the geodynamo effect. They do claim that it's related. Can I just,
No, I
by the
mean,
way,
the moon.
Absolutely.
hold on, Brendan, we can continue, but hold on. Wesley, if you're still there, you know how you were at one point when we were debating, you were saying I was wrong. Would you agree that I really wasn't wrong about anything I was saying? Just so we can be on the same page.
Who are you talking to?
Oh, last time I looked at my screen, he was still in here. It's all right. He bounced out. I'll ask him next
Oh,
time.
he bounced out.
For a minute there, he was like, "You're wrong," and then I was saying all my points. At the end, he's like, said he agreed with all of them. So I'm just saying, like, it just kind of be nice in a debate at some point. If someone says someone's wrong, that's fine if they say that. But
Yeah.
if they weren't wrong, it's just be best for the person to be like, "All right, yeah, my bad."
Gio, you were wrong in that the effects weren't related to each other. When you were going down the list, you were saying this happens because of this, and this happens because of this, and this happens because of this. Wesley said all three of those things are, doesn't disagree with them, but the fact that the assertion that one was related to two was related to three was what he had issues with. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get a concession out of him.
And my question was
We were
designed.
talking about we were talking about the right-hand rule, and the point I brought up is that the right-hand rule can be applied to how the Earth rotates, which is what we were originally talking to in terms of Earth rotation when it comes to like gyroscopes and all that stuff. So I was saying the right-hand rule, when you put if you wrapped your hand around the ball, your thumb is the North Pole, your fingers are wrapping around the ball, or you could even put a little tennis ball in your hand. And then that right-hand rule relates to the rotation of the globe Earth and its vector, claim through space, which I was then saying is related to the sky, which, the Earth's rotation is claimed to be the result of the reason the sky is moving is because we're actually rotating. So there was nothing wrong about what I said there. And then we were also talking about the electromagnetic field and how the right-hand rule works with that. And then also the electric field of the Earth was brought up as well, which also relates to the right-hand rule. So that's what I don't think there was anything wrong said or even disagreements. There was, it just seemed like Wesley was saying I was wrong about something when there wasn't. It was really just different ways of using the right-hand rule. And when I read all those things off, they're all related. Like the right-hand rule is related to electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is also related to how the Earth rotates through the geodynamic dynamo effect. And the right-hand rule relates to electric fields, which the Earth claims to have, the globe Earth, and it's related to the way that it rotates.
What does the right-hand rule say? What does it denote?
We were already on it earlier. I don't know if we're going to go, if you want to go back to it, but we're going
the
through
thumb,
it in a lot of detail.
Your thumb points in the direction of the current flow. That's what the right-hand rule is. It's about the direction of current in a wire. It has nothing to do with the Earth.
Nothing to do with the earth. And I quote.
Correct. Right-hand rule, the thumb points the direction of current flow in a wire.
Which way are you holding your hand?
So, okay, so let me just get this clear. So let me ask you this. So this is Google's Gemini AI response. The first response, I read this earlier. It says the rotation of the Earth relates to the right-hand rule through its definition of its axial tilt and angular velocity vector. So do you disagree with Google, Brenda?
Yes. That
Oh,
is
you do?
wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Here.
Gemini.
Okay, so
Gemini.
should
Gemini
we
is
should let them
wrong.
know we should let them know they're wrong. Okay, so how does
Yes,
Brenda know
you
they're wrong?
should.
We should do a campaign so Brenda can let Google know. Go ahead. Tell us what the
the
correct
right-hand
AI
rule applies
Brenda, we're gonna need you to
More-
fill out a ticket.
more than just
Yeah,
electricity.
we got to fill out a ticket to Google right away, you guys. There is a major thing about
Fine.
science that Brenda
Yes.
says is wrong right on Google. Okay, so what's the right information?
Absolutely.
So
I
how
told
is
you.
what I just said
I told
wrong?
you.
Or how
You
is
take
what
your right-
Google's saying? How is what Google's saying is wrong is actually what you got to
The
answer.
right-hand rule, right? You take your right hand, you wrap it around a wire, your thumb points in the direction of the current flow.
What
that's
does
a
it
different-
say
that's a
about a
different topic.
gyroscope?
That's a different topic. That's using the
Oh,
right-hand
that's-
rule that's using the right-hand rule for electric flow. In this case, it's being used for the axial and the vector, the velocity vector of the globe Earth through space. Because if you go to the
No.
Wikipedia page and you read the first sentence for right-hand rule, which I'll do, it says in mathematics and physics, the right-hand rule is a convention and a mnemonic utilized to define the orientation of axes in three-dimensional space and to determine the direction of the cross product of two vectors, as well as to establish the direction of those force on a current carrying conductor in a magnetic field. So all it is it's giving you the vector, the cross product of the two vectors in terms of the pattern of it. It can be applied to the rotation in the model, the
I get it.
conceptual globe Earth.
I get
It can be related to the rotation of the sky and or the ether and electric field. So the right-hand rule can be applied to many different aspects, and one of them is the rotation of the globe, which is part of mainstream science currently and how they teach it.
Yeah. So you wrap your fingers around the globe, your thumb will point the direction of the North Pole then, right? Is that correct?
That's for the axis and the velocity vector of the globe, yes. And your fingers
Yeah.
wrapping around it like you're holding a tennis ball, that represents the west to east rotation of the globe, which causes
Correct.
the sun to rise east and set west.
Yes. The Earth doesn't move in that direction, dude.
Brenda, does the globe Earth rotate east to west or west to east?
The Earth doesn't move towards the North Pole, dude.
Does the Earth
move in that
rotate? I asked you a question. From your understanding, does the Earth rotate east to west or west to east?
What does that have to do with my pointing out that you're wrong?
What it has to do
Earth-
directly is that it sounds like you may not know, so I'll let you know. If you wrap your hand around a tennis ball and you have your fingers with the right hand rule and your thumb pointing up, your fingers wrapping around represent the motion of the Earth going west to east. And if you look at it from above, the globe Earth would be rotating counterclockwise. So the right hand rule is directly related to the axis of rotation of the globe Earth in that whole theory and model. And it does represent it because it's west to east is what the globe rotates.
But I'm talking about its motion around the sun. It doesn't move by the North Pole. It moves
Okay, we're not
perpendicular.
talking about orbital motion. We're talking about axial motion right now.
Then what does axial motion have to do with it?
The right-hand rule is directly related to axial motion in the globe Earth conception and theory.
No way she didn't know that.
No,
There's
it
no
doesn't.
way.
It doesn't have anything to do with the motion of the Earth. It has nothing to do with it. It's electromagnetism. It's not rotation.
And
Physical
again, I
rotation.
quote, nothing to do with the rotation of Earth. Brenda.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Okay, so this is what you would have to tell Google they're wrong on. So I'm going to read it real quick right from Google. It says the rotation of the Earth relates to the right-hand rule through its definition of its axial tilt and angular velocity vector. How to apply the rule to Earth. Curl your fingers. Look at the Earth from above from the North Pole. The Earth rotates in a counterclockwise direction from west to east. Curl the fingers of your right hand in that same counterclockwise direction. Point your thumb. Your thumb points directly up through the North Pole. What this means in physics. North Pole definition. Because of this alignment, the Earth's geographic North Pole is defined as the positive direction of its rotational axis using the right-hand rule. Prograde motion. Planets that rotate this way have a prograde rotation. meaning their angular velocity vector points toward their northern celestial hemisphere. If you'd like, I can explain how the same right-hand rule applies to Earth's magnetic field or its orbital motion around the sun. So it does relate to the orbital motion around the sun, but even though it's not what we were talking about, you were just saying it doesn't. And you were saying it doesn't even relate to the axial motion. So you are against every single thing that is the mainstream model right now. That's wild.
Yes. Well, no, you're assuming that Gemini knows what it's talking about. It doesn't. It's probably hallucinating, right? So the truth is that the reason that the Earth rotates is because it inherited the angular momentum from the formation of the solar system. Angular momentum is conserved. It's been rotating ever since, 4 billion years ago when the Earth formed out of the dust cloud. It was a rotating dust cloud. The sun, the moon, the Earth, every planet rotates because they inherited angular momentum from the formation of the solar system. It has nothing to do with with magnetism or electricity. I'm right. Gemini is wrong. Or you prompted it in some way or misunderstood it. Or
the question I typed is, how is the rotation of the Earth related to the right-hand rule? That's what I typed. Very, very straightforward stuff. This is like some of the most basic, the way the right-hand rule relates to the rotation of the globe Earth in that theory is like very, very basic. So I would say you are just factually incorrect on you saying that Google's wrong. In this case, for the model, for the globe model, Google is absolutely correct.
Well, why don't you type in, what is the shape of the Earth?
Okay, that's a non sequitur. We're talking about the right-hand rule and how it relates to the rotation of the Earth on its axis and the rotation of the Earth around the sun and the magnetic field of the Earth, all of which we were talking about earlier, all of which people were saying were like either wrong or and none of these things have been shown to be not the case in terms of how they're all related. And in terms of even how the mainstream model puts forth, the current cosmological.
Ask Gemini if the Earth inherited its angular momentum from the formation of the solar system.
Okay, that's a different topic, though. We could go on that topic next, but it's not the right-hand rule and how it relates to the rotation of the globe. I would expect at this point you'd be like, oh yeah, it does for sure. You would have to. I mean, if you're not conceding that, then you have your own like whole different model or some other theory going on. Because when you said that this was wrong, that the right-hand rule, you then went off to some other formation of galaxies, which was all just a non sequitur. And now you're wanting me to ask Google that. So just to be in intellectual honesty and good faith, you want to just agree the right-hand rule does apply to the rotation of the globe and the motion of the Earth around the sun, both of which you said were not the case earlier? Do you want to just concede and agree that that's the case, or do you want to somehow stick that Google's wrong and somehow the right-hand rule doesn't apply, but you haven't said how it doesn't? All you've said is Google's wrong, and then you went on to some other thing about how outer space formed.
It doesn't. It is not explain why the Earth rotates about its axis. It does not explain why the Earth rotates about its axis.
Well, we weren't explaining why it does that. We're taking all that as is, and we're just talking about how that relates to the right-hand rule. Currently.
Yeah, it matches the right-hand rule.
Yeah, so Brenda, do you want to just concede to that so we can just make sure that there's honesty going on? You agree that what you said earlier was incorrect, and that's fine. You either just misspoke or maybe you just wanted to debate and you didn't quite think about it first?
No, I'm right.
So, okay, Cole, do you want to debate Brenda on how the right-hand rule? She says it doesn't apply to the rotation.
Yeah, I can clear it up pretty quick. It matches the right-hand rule. It's not saying that it has that rotation because of the right-hand rule. It's saying that it just matches the right-hand rule.
Why is the right-hand rule specific to the
calm down, Omni. Brenda's talking.
And not to the South Pole?
All right, you got interrupted. He can jump in. Go ahead, Omnivore. You got interrupted. Say it again.
My question was, why is the right-hand rule specific to the North Pole and not the South Pole?
Okay, that is a separate topic, actually. I didn't know if it was in. Okay, so Brenda, do you hear what Cole said? Do you agree with that? Or
yeah, that's a good question. Why?
So now you agree it does. So what you said earlier when you said that was wrong.
Oh, no, I didn't. I said
it matches the right-hand rule.
Why is that
this is what I say, Brenda. Hold on. Let me say it again. This is what I say, Brenda. It matches the right-hand rule. But it's not saying that it rotates that way because of the right-hand rule. It just says that it matches the right-hand rule.
But
why? But that's what was said originally. Sometimes if you just want to tell someone they're wrong just to debate, it's not ideal if like you're just saying things that are not the case just to debate. Like the other person doesn't have to always be wrong just because you think they're wrong about other things. That seems to happen a lot because I was actually just even steelmanning the globe model. I haven't even been making any arguments against even the globe. Like all of this I've been saying is just steelmanning the globe, and somehow people just want to debate even though they're just debating a correct steelman of the globe model.
So maybe a clarification would help. Are you saying that the right-hand rule explains why the Earth rotates about its axis?
Of course not. That was never said. It was never a claim to be a cause. It was how the right-hand rule relates to these different things: the Earth's magnetic field, the claimed rotation of the Earth, which I think is the sky, and the right-hand rule relates to the electromagnetic field as it relates to the sky. But even if you want to extrapolate that and say we're on a ball, then the right-hand rule is going to apply to the ball. That's all that was being said. It's just how the right-hand rule relates to the rotation of the globe and its vector through space, etc., and also how it relates to the electromagnetic fields. It was all just steelmans of the very basic way that the right-hand rule is applied, and it was brought up because Fundy had brought it up.
What you said,
So,
it's vectors
hey,
through
Brenda,
space.
Brenda,
Yes, Omni.
do you think we could find out why the right-hand rule applies to the North Pole and not the South Pole?
I don't know.
Well, man, I kind of want to know because as far as I'm aware, on a ball, both poles are the axis of rotation, and we just arbitrarily call one the north and one the south. Now, granted, one of them is in the middle of the AE map, but I don't think anyone here is, championing the AE map. So I'm just curious as to why.
Do you not
why we're
understand the
putting
difference in the
thumb up instead of thumbs down?
My understanding, Omnivore, my understanding is that your thumb points in the
Do
direction.
you understand it now, Brenda? Are you serious?
I was gonna.
Not what I said.
I think this would probably be something that Gio should explain.
Plate up omnivore? Do you not understand the difference applying the right hand rule if the sky is moving or if it's the earth moving?
That wasn't the question. That was not.
I'm asking him a
consideration.
question.
I'm just curious.
Well,
Okay,
the
well,
sky's motion
hold
was
on,
related to the
hold on.
magnetic field somehow, is what Gio was saying.
Yeah.
Well, but
They're all
why
related.
That is
But,
correct.
they're all related. Hold on. Well, Witsit asked Omnivore a question. Omnivore, if you want to answer that. But Omnivore had asked me something really quickly, I think, or mentioned me. So yeah, real quickly, the right-hand rule, the reason, so when you wrap your hand, like you take a tennis ball, you wrap it around your hand, your thumb is pointing up. So you're giving someone the thumbs up, and then you just put a tennis ball in your hand. That relates to the way the sky moves, ultimately. But in the globe model, that relates to the west to east claim that the globe is rotating west to east. So if you flip it,
right?
if you flip it and put your thumb down on a globe Earth, it would be rotating the wrong way. So you can't flip it down. Your thumb has to be up to relate to the west to east motion of the west to east motion of the globe Earth, which is how they've extrapolated that from the way the sky moves originally. So that's why you asked why it has to be north and it can't just arbitrarily be south. That's why the rotation of the sky.
Do you understand why that's a problem for your statement? That's to Gio.
Dude, just answer the question or rebut it. Don't ask that shit.
You asked me why the thumb is pointed up north when we're talking about the claimed rotation of how the right-hand rule relates to the globe Earth rotation. I'm saying that's sky, but either way, that's why you can't point it south. That's the answer. So then you could respond and say, okay, I see why the thumb has to be pointed up north.
I'll wait, but I wanna address what you said, but I need to actually be able to address what you said.
Are you sure you're gonna wait?
I'm doing this with
You had a
Gio.
full opportunity to respond. You chose to be condescending. Please just get to your response, Omni.
It's a response to your question. So just to be in good faith and intellectual honesty, I've answered your question why the thumb can't be pointed south when you're using the right-hand rule and how it relates to the rotation of the globe Earth. If you want to just respond, you could say okay, whatever you want to say, and then Witsit asked you a question as well. So
my question was, if we're saying that the right-hand rule somehow applies to the rotation of the Earth, I think that is true for the North Pole. But I don't think in the globe model, the North Pole is special. So how do you address that?
it is when it comes to the right-hand rule, because the North Pole, like the globe is either rotating west to east or east to west. And in the globe model,
west to east.
Right. So in the globe model, it's west to east. Therefore, when it comes to the right-hand rule and the way I mean, it's the way that the vectors
Oh,
occur in
okay.
3D space. It has to be, yeah, that's why the right-hand rule of the thumb would have to
So
be
you're
upward.
reverse engineering. You're saying that the right-hand rule applies because of the direction that the Earth rotates, and that's why the thumb is up.
That's what
Well,
you
Not
have to
that the
say.
thumb is
Well, I
up
got an
and
important
therefore
question,
That's
No,
what
that's
you have to say.
Omni.
that's what the glow model has to say for it to match. That's what's
I got
saying.
I got a
yeah,
very
but
important question
it
here
doesn't say that though,
that relates
right?
to
It does say
this.
that.
Let me ask
The,
this
the, the
question real
quote,
quick, Omni. It's for you, Omni. Let me ask this question. Is the magnetic field of the Earth, do they say it comes out of one pole and makes its way and then goes back into the other pole? Does it come out of the south, go into the north,
no,
or does it
no,
not matter either way? It don't come out of one and
no,
go
it
into
doesn't
the other.
matter either way.
Okay.
That's a good question. So there's no direction to magnetism?
So if you say I'm using the right-hand rule to declare that the North Pole is special, that's a very different statement than the globe model says that the spin of the Earth matches the right-hand rule, because the globe model I don't think says that.
Okay,
Right?
but it does.
The globe
But it
model
does.
says both poles are equal, and
Yeah, do you
therefore
understand if
the
it's a
right-hand rule would
globe?
only apply to one of them, which isn't all that meaningful.
Why would it only apply to one of them? Do you understand if you're on
Because
the
if you
top of
put
a
your
ball and on the
thumb
bottom of a
downwards, it
ball?
would make the Earth spin the opposite direction.
Yeah, but you don't ever put
Yeah,
the
so
Either pole you grab hold of, it goes the same way.
you don't ever put the thumb downwards for the globe. You're going to
What's
point
that?
it upwards. You point your thumb up on the globe. You're claiming that your fingers are pointing the direction the Earth spins. Why would the South Pole be different? You're upside down on a ball. So now your thumb is still up to the sky. It still spins west to east. What's the difference?
Because north is only arbitrarily on top. It's not really on top. It's just
But
there
that doesn't
because
change
we
anything.
put it
That
there.
doesn't change anything. It doesn't matter. Let's
Correct.
say the
The
South
globe
is the
model,
top and the
and
North
if
is
you're
the
talking
bottom.
about the AE map,
Oh,
Dude, there is
deflection.
an asymmetry. There is an asymmetry on the globe. It's considered to be bulbous at the bottom, right at the southern pole. There is an asymmetry where you guys
Yeah, but
talk about
there's a
equality.
if you
huge
turn it upside down and you
asymmetry with the
point your
magnetic
thumb
field.
down, it'll say that the Earth should be rotating in the opposite direction. It's only arbitrary to say that north is on top and saying that your thumb would point upwards because north is on top. You could just as easily say south is on top because there's no up or down in space. And if you put
There
south
is
on top, then that would mean that the Earth would rotate in the opposite direction.
Yeah, you couldn't put your thumb up to the South Pole though.
The
Why
Earth would
not?
never rotate in the opposite direction. You would
It
be
would
upside.
rotate west
Exactly.
east.
That's why they're claiming that it
Okay, but doesn't your model
doesn't
claim
make
that
any
the magnetic?
sense to say that.
Doesn't your model claim there's a major asymmetry to the magnetic field in the South?
Major asymmetry.
Yeah, it's called the asymmetry problem.
Yeah,
What is
this
asymmetry?
magnetic South Pole's that in the ocean off the coast of Australia somewhere.
The entire
Or,
distribution of the
yeah,
magnetic field is
Antarctica.
anomalous and asymmetrical
Oh, you're
past the
just talking
equator.
about it's not dead over the pole. What?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. The entire distribution of the
well, the
magnetic field is
rotation of the
anomalous.
Earth is not
Why y'all
around the
interrupt pretending you
magnetic
know
poles;
things
it's
when you
around the
don't know them?
geographic
Hey,
poles.
brother.
Have you never seen an analema?
But what
Dude,
does that
hold on.
has nothing to do with
Hold
analema?
on. Please, right now, don't just like shout like that. Fresh grown, please just chill. And then Omnivore, you probably have Witsit muted. Could you please unmute him? You totally talked over him. Witsit, go ahead.
And I'm just saying that there's like a major asymmetry problem with the magnetic field. You can't detach the rotation of the globe and the magnetic field in your paradigm.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
but
can.
but that has nothing to do with what we're saying. What we're saying is there's no reason to say that your thumb has to point up towards the North Pole and that your fingers would then match the rotation of the Earth, which we say that it goes, because it's just the same as saying you could say your thumb faces the South Pole, and then that would make the Earth rotate opposite than what we say it does. There's
No,
no
it
reason to say
wouldn't.
that the right hand rule has to be that your thumb is facing towards the North Pole.
Okay,
That's
listen,
what we're
listen,
trying
listen.
to say.
Listen. It wouldn't be different in the South. You would be upside down relative to where you were in the North. Your thumb would still go up. It would still go west to east. On a flat, stationary
So
plane with the
what?
sky rotating, you still hold your thumb up. It's just that the sky is moving in that direction because the sky's above you, the ground's below you. Do you get it?
No, if you turn your hand upside down and you put your thumb towards the south, the Earth's going to rotate the opposite direction, according
Yeah,
to the right hand rule.
so actually, that's not the case. So let's think about this. If you put your thumb up the North Pole, going to the North Pole, and you're like doing the thumbs up, yeah, it would be west to east. Now, if you invert yourself 180 degrees because you were in the northern hemisphere when you did the right hand rule going up, if you're going to invert yourself and turn yourself upside down, now you're upside down. So now, if you point your thumb to the South Pole on a globe,
it'll go the opposite direction.
Well, hold
the
on.
Earth will spin in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
And it's still not clicking for you, is it?
Because you're inverted. Yes, you're inverted, so you've inverted it.
No,
That's
are you
right.
talking about like counter? Are you talking about like counterclockwise? Are you talking about the
Even
cardinal
if it don't matter if you
directions?
turn yourself upside down or if you flip the Earth upside down, it's the same difference. If you point your thumb towards the
Exactly.
south, it'll the Earth rotates in the way your fingers go. It means the Earth is rotating in the opposite direction that we say. I've said it 4 times now.
Yeah,
but
but
you're just not, bro. You're wrong, bro.
I'm not
The amount of
wrong.
times you say it, brother.
we
If I'm
see.
standing at
It's
the
what we
North Pole
observe.
and I put my thumb up, it's gonna go east. It's gonna go west to east. My fingers are gonna match the claimed rotation of the globe west to east. We all agree?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take that position, flip me upside down on the bottom of the globe, put my thumb up. It's now gonna be the opposite direction in relation to the north, but there is no direction. There is no preference. The cardinal directions remain the same. So you're gonna be pointing your
The
west
Earth will
east.
turn backwards.
Oh
Wrong.
my God!
would
It
be
won't
going
turn
east to west.
backwards.
How do you not understand this? You don't have to turn yourself upside down. You just flip the ball upside down. It's the same thing. But it'll be going backwards then.
No, the difference is you have to. Okay, so if this is like a screwdriver. You know how when you have a screwdriver and you look at it from the top, it's going right to left. But if you look at it from underneath, it's going left to right. But anyways, if you're in the northern hemisphere, or even if you just do it from a God mode, you just put the thumbs up around the big ball Earth kind of thing. Yes, it represents that west to east. If you invert yourself and go upside down, which is equivalent to turning your thumb upside down, because okay, if you go in the southern hemisphere and you do the thumbs up, well, now you're thumb upping to the South Pole. You know what I mean? Because your body has inverted. Now, if you stay in the north and still point your thumb to the south, then now like you're not really doing a thumbs up anymore. You're doing a thumbs down. But if you do a thumbs down, that's fine from the northern hemisphere. And yeah, that rotation, you're saying that's east to west.
So
yeah, so that
let me get this clear. Try to clarify it. In the South Pole, if I point my thumb at my right hand, use the right hand rule towards the southern celestial pole, my fingers will wrap around in the opposite direction than they do in the north. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, but just in relation
and it
to each
will
other, but not
rotate
in
in
terms
the
of
opposite direction because it
not in
rotates
terms of
the way
cardinal
your fingers
direction.
go.
Not in terms of cardinal direction, though.
We're talking about the right hand rule.
We're talking about the way
Yes,
the Earth is spinning.
Yes, bro.
Yes,
Please
it will
listen.
go
Please listen.
backwards.
Please listen, dude. No, it will not. The Earth
Give me a
spins west
fucking
to
ball.
east.
I'll show you.
Okay, dude. Please get a ball because you're just gonna realize this is
I'm
ridiculous.
pulling one out right now so I can film it and show you these simple concepts.
Dude, calm down. Calm down. I wouldn't be cocky right now, bro. Okay. You are conflating the relative directions of clockwise and counterclockwise with the cardinal direction of west to east. If I flip upside down on the ball, my finger is now 180 degrees away from where it was north, which means that my fingers will be going the opposite direction relative to what it was in the north, but that opposite direction will still be west to east.
No.
Okay, so
no,
you
it
don't
goes backwards.
That's what I'm saying. Like Cole, someone in Australia. Here's why I'm trying to ask you what your position is. If someone's in Australia right now and they point their thumb to the South Pole and then their fingers wrapping, do you think that finger wrapping on your globe Earth conception of the Earth? Do you think that that's going west to east or east to west?
Your fingers, if your thumb's pointing toward the north, your fingers would mean that it's going from west to east, like the Earth is like we say the Earth is turning. Okay. Now I want to video this here. I got my phone. I'm going to live stream this. I got a ball in my hand. I've been sitting here doing it while I'm talking to you guys.
Okay, well, go ahead and start your live stream, and let me just make sure everyone understands like how simple this is, right? It's just relative directions. Imagine there's a cosmic north and a cosmic south. So you stand on the North Pole and you point your finger at the cosmic north. Your fingers are going to go west to east. You go all the way over
it's
to the South Pole.
Earth north, Earth south.
Yeah, we're just
Dude,
talking about the Earth. We're not
I
talking
Let me
about the
finish
cosmos.
before you guys comment.
Stop
please.
interrupting me.
Yeah.
I only brought up a cosmic north so you can understand the idea of it being up above you, because for some reason you guys seem to think that the physical location of the North Pole somehow changes something. It doesn't. So there's a spot above you. You're going to point
Nobody
your
said
finger at
that.
it. Stop interrupting me. You're just going to point your thumb at it. Your fingers are going to go west to east. If I go all the way across the ball to the South Pole, I'm now upside down in relation to where I just was. So when I point my finger up, my thumb up, it will be down relative to where I just was. But because I'm on the other side of a ball,
It says I can't live stream while there's more than 25 people in here, or I can't come on, turn my camera on.
Yeah, the way to do it is do a screen share and then share the screen of your phone with your camera app open. That's the only way to do it. If there's other than if we move to a whole like stage channel.
Let me say it like this.
But I mean, dude, the thing is,
Cole's
like,
talking about. Let me say it. So if you thought, with the globe north up, so just think about Australia. The east coast of Australia is leading the continent in the easterly heading. But
wait,
if
why
you
are we
flip
thinking
it
about
over,
Australia in the
if you
north?
flip it over, think it's still about Australia. Now the west coast would be leading the direction of
Well, you
Australia.
can't do
It's
that.
rotating backwards.
You can't do that, bro. You can't pick places above and below the equator and look at them simultaneously. You can't say, I'm in the north, now go look at Australia. Now when I go to the south, look
And
at Australia, it's
that's
different. Because on your,
I just said
this
it
is
the way it happens.
basic
I'll just do
geometry.
it this way.
When
I
you
was
cross the equator, it's going to flip. So when I get down to the south and my thumb goes up, it's still going to be pointing west to east. The fingers on my thumb, on my hand, will still be pointing west to east. I'm now flipped upside down on the ball, bro.
I just wanted to say real quick that after Cole's done streaming what he's sharing, I have the lunar eclipse happening up.
Why are you guys even arguing this? This is us still manning the globe. Why are you guys trying to make an argument that the right hand rule doesn't work on the globe? That would be so devastating to your model.
I know, dude.
Well, it
Wesley
doesn't
earlier
hurt
was trying to
anything.
do it, and then Brenda like spent what like it's wild.
It must be some flat earther just made a point about this, and they're just all group thought decided
No,
to
it
disagree with
started
it.
out. It started out with the electric field and the Sagnac effect and interferometry and all that. That's where it all came
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, so that's where it's like that's what it's about, right? Like, but the point is that in the globe model, like that's all tied to the axial rotation of the globe. So like
Hey,
you could if we went to the south and it suddenly didn't work, that would be a major problem for the globe. But it is the same. It's just basic geometry. You're just gonna flip everything 180, and of course the rotation it changes. It goes the opposite way, quote unquote, but it's still going west to east. It's just like the star trails in the north and the south. They look like they go opposite directions, clockwise and counterclockwise, but they're all going west to east. It's the same thing.
Yeah, because Cole, you were saying if you pointed your thumb to the South Pole that it would be going east to west. That's why I was trying to ask you. So can you confirm? Like, the thing you said earlier was incorrect? You misspoke.
No. I said if you point your thumb towards the south, the Earth will rotate in the opposite direction. I've said it 6 times at this point.
Okay, that's false. So you're telling me
No,
that
it's not. I just now did it. I'm going to post
this.
this video here. It's about 10 seconds long with a ball in my hand. So you can see when my thumb is pointing toward the North Pole, my fingers point towards the right. The right hand rule says the ball will turn towards the way my fingers are pointing. When I point my thumb down towards the South Pole, my fingers point in the opposite direction, making the ball turn in the opposite direction.
No,
I'm going to
you would
post this
have
video.
You would
Watch
have to
it.
turn up, bro. You'd have to go upside down and look at the ball spinning
Witsit,
from
there
the
is
south.
no difference whether I turn upside down or I turn my hand upside down. I could
Yes.
stand
Ding,
upside
ding,
down and
ding,
do the
ding,
same
ding,
thing.
ding. We've got a winner.
Yes.
This is wild.
All right. So
This
here,
is
let me
wild.
post this video
This,
to show
dude,
you
the
how
video
simple
doesn't prove.
this concept is.
Oh my gosh, what is going on?
I don't
Do you
even know what
agree
the
that the
argument is.
globe still spins west to east in the south?
Let it load up.
Hey, Globers, do you guys agree that the stars are always spinning the same direction, east to west?
All right. It's loaded. You can watch it.
Argue with everybody about this, and he would say
So
that
Cole, I mean,
directions
Cole,
what is? Hold on.
that people get
What's
cardinal directions mixed up with the whole spin
Relative
thing, and people do
directions.
this all the time, right? They freaking argue about this shit all the time. Believe me, it's just they're all going the same way. and you just got to do cardinal directions. You can't.
All right. So Cole, your answer when I asked that, it sounds like your answer is no, Geo. The Earth spins east to west if you point your thumb at the South Pole while you're in the South, and that is what the mainstream model says. So is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I've been saying the whole time. If you point your thumb down at the South Pole, then the Earth rotates the opposite direction. If you point your thumb at the North Pole, it rotates like we say it does. And that's what I've been saying the whole time. It does not matter because there is no up or down in space. You can flip the ball upside down and put the South Pole on top, and the ball, and it will spin backwards then at that point compared to what it's spinning with the North Pole on
Yeah,
top. So it
relative
does not matter. So you
directions.
cannot say that the right hand rule has anything to do with it, as long as
Oh
you
my
say
God.
that the magnetic fields have no out where they come out from one pole and go in at the other. But now if you say they come out from
Holy
like
sh!
the South Pole and they go back in at the North Pole, then the right hand rule could apply. If you say that they don't come out of one pole and go into the other, they're just static, then the right hand rule don't apply.
Okay, so can you
The
just
Earth
Google it?
the Earth still spins
This is
west to
basic,
east
Witsit. How do you
and
not follow
each.
Google it.
this?
Just Google it.
You have to
The
do.
Earth
You have to use
spins.
your left hand in the South to make it match.
No, you don't. It's called the right hand
Well,
rule.
but I don't understand why we're using the right hand rule anyway. That's for the direction of current flow. Which way is it claimed that the direction of current is flowing?
That's what I'm saying. If you're saying that like I was saying, if you're using the magnetic field as the flow, and you say that it comes out of the south and goes to the north and it flows from south to north, then you could say that there's the right hand rule applies, because you could say that the flow of the even though it would be wrong, you could say the flow of the magnetic field lines would go from south to north the way your thumb is pointing, and the earth would rotate the way your fingers are. But if you say it's static, then you can turn your hand either way. You can put your thumb facing south and it would rotate backwards, showing that the right hand rule don't apply.
Well, in each hemisphere, the Earth spins counterclockwise compared to the North Pole and clockwise compared to the South Pole. But everywhere it still spins west to east.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
let me help you guys out here, dude. Like, the right-hand rule is not just about current flow.
Yeah.
So I don't know who just said that, but you're wrong. It's about it's universal standard in all of physics for all rotation. It isn't just about
Mhm.
current flow. So, yeah, you do need it to work on the north and the south, and it does, and it's basic geometry.
Yeah, I mean, Cole,
Thank
they
you.
do claim that the magnetic field lines go out of the north and into the south. So that's a whole other topic. But like the way it's a
Okay, well,
the toroidal field of the globe Earth, the way they claim and the geodynamo effect and all that. So first of all, that's one thing. Secondly, when I said you have to point your left hand, Cole, I was actually agreeing with you. So what I'm saying is that the right hand rule, what you're saying is that it would be east to west if you were to go to the south and you're inverted. And so what you said no when I said left, but that's actually the mainstream model as well. You could use
but
your
you would
left.
never use your left hand.
You
It's
could
called the right hand rule.
hold on, dude. What I'm saying is that you can use. We all just want to be so defensive and fight, whereas sometimes we can just listen and it's all good. The mainstream model says this as well. If you use your left hand, you get the clockwise instead of the counterclockwise. So yes, I know that's not the right hand rule, but in terms of the way your fingers curl, I'm saying like you would have to use your left hand to get the clockwise motion. The
All
right
right,
hand
I'm
will give
gonna.
you counterclockwise.
Apparently, I recorded something wrong in this video here. It's
It's all
recorded
good.
the whole time I was talking, so I'm going to record it here,
You're
re-record
just
it.
gonna
Let me
show
use
the
this
same phenomena of like someone drawing a circle on a window, and then if I look at them drawing it from the inside, to them it'll look like they're drawing it left to right, but to me it'll look right to left. But they're actually just doing it in one direction. You're
I don't
conflating relative directions with cardinal directions. You know what I mean? It's pretty simple, bro. Like, no big deal.
I don't know if anyone heard earlier, but I do have the lunar eclipse up right now. If anyone wants to watch.
The thing is, originally, nice, dude. Nice. I'll check it out. Oh, lunar eclipse. Nice. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
right now.
Sweet. But just the thing is that earlier Omnivore said you guys were trying to make an argument like why is the north or south, like it's just relative, like it's arbitrary just to make the thumb pointing upward, but that is not the case in the mainstream model. It's essential, like from a God mode, as it were. The right hand rule, using the right hand, only works when you point the thumb up towards the North Pole in terms of the west-east rotation. So you know, and the saying before, like, oh, well, why would it matter? Is it just arbitrary? Because, oh, there's no up and down in space in the north and south. But that's not the case. There is actually one way that it works, which is the thumb pointing upwards. Because if you point your right hand thumb down, you get east to west rotation of the globe, which would be the opposite. Which is why you would technically have to use your left. You'd have to use your left hand technically and do the left hand rule in the south to have it match the clockwise motion. So that's why the North Pole. It is. It doesn't mean it's. I'm not trying to make an argument for like AE north centered. I'm just saying on the globe model. On the globe model, it only rotates one way, and when your finger's curling, that's only going to be one way. That's going to match.
Okay, so now you can watch the video I just posted. It's 45 seconds long. And it's the right hand rule. It's the right hand rule. It's you use your right hand. You don't use your left hand or anything else. And you don't have to turn upside down. You can just flip the planet upside down. It makes no difference. But you can watch the video that I posted.
But I don't know if I'll ever be able to say anything. So
you put your thumb on the bottom. It rotates in the opposite direction. It's posted.
Dude, I don't even.
You guys, Dr. Fields talking.
The time to pencil yourself in to get in is not when someone else is talking. The best is to wait until they're finished. Obviously, you just have to be able to get in like merging in traffic. So anyways, Cole, we didn't really hear what you said. You got your video. Let me pull it up on the live stream. I've got Seafoam's thing sharing, but while you describe it, just give me like 10 seconds, and then if you want to describe it again, because we couldn't really hear you. And then Omnivore, you can go next, dude.
So, the Earth turns this way.
All right, so I got it sharing here. You got a ball.
Faces upwards. The Earth turns the way.
I'll just play it on.
Fingers.
Okay, I could pull up the screen share real quick.
Fingers point.
I don't see it. I was just wondering where you're sharing it at.
The Earth the same, but I point my thumb.
Can I ask the Globers a question? What is the?
You need to raise your hand.
Oh, do you hear me? Oh, okay. Oh, that wasn't cool.
Using your right hand.
What's with all the triangles underneath? You know, those dots you guys are claiming are craters or whatever. I keep finding these triangles like shooting out from all those dots.
Thumb up.
Where are you seeing that?
Where you thumb down?
Well, look at the big crater on the right there with the. It's not like a triangle.
We're finishing up this right hand.
Yes, is this really the time to start talking about this?
This way.
Yeah.
We're
looking
at the eclipse. The Earth turns the way.
Well, I was just having that on. I was having that on in the background. We can. If you want to put a pin in that till Cole's finished.
Well, it can't be that complicated. There's like an arrow underneath each of these these dots everywhere. Like, do you guys have an explanation for that?
The Earth
I don't know what
the opposite
looking at.
Those two lines.
Using your right hand, if you point your thumb down, see my thumb on the bottom. If you point your thumb down, it will go in the opposite direction, showing that thumb up. It goes one way.
Well, to answer your question real quick, for big craters like this, when the asteroid hits the moon, all the junk that it blows out of the crater gets blown in all directions.
Well, there's always predominantly two lines just like that one below it. So I don't know why.
There's a whole bunch of radial lines coming out from it.
Okay, but obviously the most prominent ones are those two on the bottom, right?
I guess. This one has a bunch of radial lines around it too. A lot of the craters have those.
We've never seen that.
Those are longitude, latitude lines.
Seafoam, this is Pinky. Since you're looking through it live, would you say it looks more like a rock or more like a rainbow?
Yeah, can you give us your opinion about it? You know what's so
Looks like
funny?
a rock.
Hold on,
Like
I asked him a question. You can answer the question. I am asking him his opinion.
Yeah,
It
but
I'd like an answer.
looks like a rock to me.
All right, thank you.
So you guys think that all these shooting stars are like gigantic rocks that come through our atmosphere on a regular basis, and they claim some of them are huge before they enter our atmosphere, and then they just start to burn. But the moon has no atmosphere, so with the amount of like shooting stars that we see, we should see impacts all the time.
Definitely rockish.
We should see impacts
No,
all the time.
most shooting stars are only the size of a grain of sand.
Okay, I see.
But you guys, Omnivore was saying what he believes the moon is. It's very important.
All right, so you guys, we can definitely like shift gears and whatnot, but I'm just playing. I finally got Cole's video up to share. I had to do something to kind of rearrange it, but anyways, so it should be up there now. Do you want to just finish that convo out at least? All All right, cool. I've got it sharing everywhere now, and I'll just play it on repeat. Do you want to describe it, and then we can just move on from this if we want?
I describe it as it plays, so just let it play there. They can watch it and listen.
All right, let's go.
There's no sound to it.
Oh, you need sound?
So you see, I'm turning it like to the right, and my thumb is pointing up. I'm turning it to the right. All right, my thumb's pointing towards the North Pole. That's the way that if the North Pole's on top, that's the way the Earth turns. My fingers face to the right. Now, if I point my thumb towards the bottom, I have to hold the ball. But if I point my thumb towards the bottom, you see my thumb on the bottom, and it rotates. Now it's rotating in the opposite direction. It's like the 9th time I've said it at this point. If your thumb faces south, your fingers face the other direction, and the ball rotates backwards. If you put your thumb facing north, the ball rotates one way. If you put your thumb facing south, the ball rotates in the opposite direction.
Right, which is why you'd have to use your left hand in the south. Okay, does anyone disagree with that?
You don't use your left hand. It's called the right hand rule.
Yeah, and I said that, right. So when I asked you a bunch of times, like when you do it pointing north, the Earth, the globe concept rotates west to east. When you do it with your thumb pointing to the south, it goes east to west. And when I asked you, is it west to east or east to west? Your answer is it goes east to west, because when you have it pointing down like that, it's going east to west. So that's why. Yeah, so
Okay,
your answer is that it's east to west if you point your thumb down. And yes, because it does. That's why I was saying technically, if you use your left hand, it would show the correct one, but using your right hand. So does anyone disagree with that, or can we just move past it? Because that does answer an omnivore. The whole thing of like, oh, it's just arbitrary, that you would have at the north or the south. Why is it specific to the south? I think omnivore alluded to maybe like an AE map North Pole argument, which I don't think anyone was making. But either way, on the globe model and the way the whole sky, like, it does rotate clockwise and counterclockwise, but the whole thing is still going west to east, and that was the cardinal direction versus rotation that Witsit brought up as well. It's all still going west to east.
Yeah, that's why I was asking if your lines come out of the South Pole and they move up and go back in the North Pole, then it would match up with the.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like, how do you have a magnetic field that doesn't do that?
They don't.
Wait. But how do you have a magnetic field
I don't
that doesn't
agree.
do that?
I think that you can say the globe's rotation matches the right-hand rule if and only if I privilege the north, or I just choose the north as where my thumb will go. But there's no reason why you should choose the north as to where your thumb will go. And the right-hand rule, actually, your thumb has to go the direction of the current. So I think I don't understand why anyone would say that the rotation of the globe matches or reinforces or in some way vibes to the right-hand rule.
Okay.
Well, the right-hand rule, the right-hand rule when it comes to rotations is just like, I mean, in astronomy at least, the way we tend to say which pole is the North Pole and which pole is the South Pole is by using the right-hand rule.
Yeah. And
the right-hand rule isn't just for, it applies to rotation, it applies to vectors doing cross products, it applies to doing torque. The direction of torque is done by the right-hand rule.
Yeah, anything rotational.
It's useful. Yeah.
I didn't know that's how they determine which ways the North Pole is on a planet, is by using that rule and the way it rotates.
Yeah.
Huh. Learn something.
Yeah.
But like the way a toroidal field.
Wait. It's not the. That's not.
You're like the worst.
Wait. You didn't know that, but you were just arguing against it for an hour?
Yeah. Obviously, when people want to get in, but like just yelling, wait, and bulldozing through is not the best, because I think I was first. But anyways, you can go.
Yeah,
I think I was first.
I don't need to be in this conversation, but
that's a convenient time to exit.
It's a convenient. Okay, sounds good. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, like a toroidal field, the way that it goes up from the south. If you have your thumb pointed up, like a geyser or like a volcano, like popping off, going up. Like if your thumb, it was bursting upwards. How like the field lines go up and burst outwards, and then loop back around, come up the south, out the north, up the south, out the north, like in a toroidal field. And that's essentially like it's a part of the way that the globe describes it, right? So there is like a specific way in which it's coming in from the south and out of the north, like a toroidal field. And it's kind of a question for Witsit too. Like that's what they're claiming, and that motion is occurring like a toroidal field.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's like the fundamental physics of magnetism. There's no such thing as like a truly static magnetic field. I don't even know what people are talking about. That doesn't exist, right? Even in their paradigm, they claim it's moving electrical charges, right? Like
Bro,
magnetic fields
can
are
I ask you a question,
dynamic
bro? So
intrinsically.
that just reminded me. Do you believe in static electricity actually being static? Because I didn't even know they actually think it's
No,
it's.
no.
Yeah, me
That's
neither,
just
dude.
what they call it. Like, there's nothing that exists is static, or it wouldn't even be here, in
I
my
don't even know how
opinion.
they claim static electricity is static. Is it because it
Well, we just call it that
stays?
because it's like relatively static. Yeah, like it's like
Also in batteries, they claim like there's like nothing happening. Like it's, it's so crazy.
it's like relatively static, but it's still vibrating. But I just want to like, it's fun. Like, you guys are making this whole claim that if the magnetic field is looping in and out and stuff, you realize that that's what your model claims, though, right? Like, there's a difference in a static. You're talking about a stationary magnetic field, which again, it's not literally stationary. They just try to call it that, or really like a permanent magnetic field. So like stationary and static are at best like colloquially misused misnomers, but they claim it's a permanent magnetic field basically. But you guys understand that in your paradigm, it absolutely is looping in and out. The torus field motion, it's looping in and out. So then what direction is the charges moving in your field? You can't claim there's no preference. That just defies the physics of magnetism.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to understand some of the things that were said earlier. And yeah, does anyone have a response that was saying it?
Well, when we see the northern lights and the southern lights, it's supposed to be high energetic particles hitting the magnetic field and then following the fields back down to the atmosphere. So if they're moving, wouldn't they carry all of those particles in the same direction and you would only get northern lights? You wouldn't get southern lights?
I don't know. I don't believe your nonsense explanations of the northern and southern lights.
Oh, okay. Fine answer.
I just don't
Bro, it's
believe
so
it.
funny how
It should be
Glovers can't
symmetrical.
ever think outside their paradigm.
Yeah, it should be symmetrical. Your argument just doesn't work.
Except
You
for it
definitely don't
does,
want to know
because
what I
that's the
think they are, though.
truth.
So, but like, just so you guys know, they claim it enters at the North Pole. Like the magnetic field lines, right? That the movement along the magnetic field lines enter the globe at the North Pole and then exit at the South Pole. Yeah, well, they were just making this whole point about how that specifically doesn't happen and it doesn't enter one of the poles and it's all arbitrary or whatever.
But like this GIF right here, is it? I mean, my understanding, like if you were to put a globe in the middle of that in the screen share I'm showing, but there's different parts of the field though. But like zzpop, is your understanding that there's a motion going? 'Cause I think you said the opposite, into the north, out the south. But what about the in the south, out the north part of it?
Well, they claim
Are
the
you talking
South
about
is
the
actually
magnetic field? Yeah.
They claim the south of the magnetic field is like the south pole of the magnetic field is on the North Pole.
It'd have to be, because that's what
yeah.
Well, I was
north
explaining that.
poles of magnets align to the north. So magnets align in reverse polarity. So
Yeah, so I'm just explaining that. That's why, like, yeah, it's still when it's entering in the south, it would match them claiming it enters in the North Pole. It
Well,
would just be
that's what I
entering in the
was saying,
south of
though.
the field. No, you claimed it didn't enter in here.
High energetic particles that hit the magnetic lines come in from in the north and the south, because we see the borealis on both poles of the earth. So do they just follow the lines, or are they is the line static, or do they come out of the south and move towards the north, or come out of the north and move towards the south? If they come out of one and move toward the other, and they carried the high energetic particles, then you would think that you would only see them like in the north if they were coming out of the south and going to the north. Or do they just follow the lines because they're magnetic lines.
They follow the lines and they go in the north, out the south, which is
They don't.
technically the opposite of the magnetic pole.
The high energetic particles don't come from the sun and go in the north and out the south.
You keep asking me about your claims about the aurora. I don't believe it. So.
Charged particles curve in a magnetic field. They corkscrew around magnetic field lines.
So more
Quite the claim.
right hand rule craziness. Then we're back to that again.
The Eclipse has got a nice curved shadow on it.
Yeah, let's go to the Eclipse.
That's kind of expected with a circle that shadow's being cast on.
Well, it would indicate that the whatever's the shadow is a circular object.
And that's not true. I've seen it done with
If the sun is above the surface and the moon's above the surface, what's causing the shadow?
Grandpa, it's dinner
There's
time.
another entity in the sky. It's been written about for all of mankind history.
It's magic.
We ever?
You guys think it's magic. We just don't ever see the moon.
Sorry, I just don't believe that story.
Yeah,
no,
but
we
you
don't
believe
think
that
it's
we don't
magic.
ever see the
We
moon
know
during
that
the
the
solar
moon's
eclipse.
passing through Earth's shadow.
You don't know.
Well, somebody was in here before the other day saying that it's the moon, going in line with the sun and the observer, but since it's on the flat plane, it's also around the ecliptic to where it's passing through the majority of this like centripetal magnetic field that he was just talking about. And that magnetic field is what's bending the light. And that's why you're only
Bro, I
seeing
thought you were gonna do
certain colors
cocaine and
of
not
it.
weed today.
Just saying, that's not anything I claim. That was somebody else. So you can say that to them, I guess.
Yeah.
Also,
So the Earth is
I
not
just
casting a shadow onto the moon. I mean, you guys can think that. That's fine. That's cool. But we don't think that. And you're claiming exclusivity, but if there were I'm just pointing out for people that are actually open-minded, throughout all of history, it was written about. So these eclipses actually weren't documented throughout all of history. And then there was a point around early Egyptian, which they argue about the timeline, but we would say maybe 4,000-5,000 BC, right? So there's a period of time where we have writing where we don't have eclipses documented. I mean, I guess maybe they wouldn't document it, but it seems like a crazy thing to observe and not write about. And then suddenly around the same time, everyone across the world starts writing about them, and they all they all claim a story that there's a god that has a city in the sky that occasionally moves in front of the moon. Which sounds crazy that the Royal Astronomical Society
is that your
has
claim that there's a city in the sky that moves in
I wanted to respond, dude.
You believe that there are pieces
I
of
was
land in
letting
the
him
sky
finish, dude. Fuck
everywhere?
you.
That's a humdinger.
You believe that there are pieces of land that
And I'm
people
lagging.
that can live
All right,
on all over the place in the sky?
What?
You believe
really,
people
really
can live
quick.
on
I'm
land in the
lagging, but I
sky
want to get in.
everywhere?
Wasn't Witsit
Negroes.
saying what was written about? He was just saying what was written. I don't think he made the claim. I think it was you were saying what was written about, right? Just giving the
Yeah,
Let me
but
in,
we're
motherfuckers.
asking him what is he?
Well,
what's
Q-Op, wait till someone's finished.
explanation? What's the alt explanation for?
Well, can I just finish what I was saying?
eclipses? And he said
I'm
it's
almost
just-
I'm lagging.
bro.
Keep
Bro,
going,
I
keep
was
going.
almost done, dude. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
written
my
about
bad.
all over the place. But then even in the 1800s, Royal Astronomical Society astronomers claim to have observed it. That there's a semi-translucent other body in the sky that is possibly responsible for eclipses. Is Royal Astronomical Society in the late
Can I
1800s.
respond after this?
Yeah.
All right, I'm lagging. Nobody go. During the 2024 solar eclipse, I saw Rahu
who?
Thank
with
you.
my own eyes. It was fucking crazy.
You saw what with your own eyes?
Ra.
He said Rahu.
Yeah, but so they called it the Eye of Ra. So here's what the actual story is, right? You have this like one world order after a flood, and then they built this city, and then they all split up, and then they all started writing about their same god, and that's where you get Apollo, Osiris, Gilgamesh, Nimrod. There are all these different names for the same being. And then when you look into the Egyptian mythos, quote unquote, they talk about Ra, which would be like from the Hebrew perspective, like Satan. Is that he interacted with mankind, mankind getting mad at him. They built this whole big city, and he takes off with it into the sky. And they claim that Ra lives in the sky, and that he'll return at one point. He told them that he would return. And then when you look at like the Hebrew claims, there's like the claim that Satan and like his dwelling will be thrown down to the earth, and then he's the prince of the air or whatever. So sure, you guys can think it's crazy, but I guarantee you can't explain almost any of the archaeology or anthropology or cities that we discover. So I don't really
Maybe not,
care.
but we have a much better explanation for eclipses than that. And the Royal
Why is it
Astronomical
better?
Society, what year was that? Well, because we can show the
1800
geometry of it.
something.
We don't have to appeal to
Uh,
a magical city in the sky.
Okay,
What
but
year?
just using the word magical, I mean, you have to
Really?
appeal to magical energy and matter and all kinds of
That
weird
is
goofy stuff.
magical,
So
like a god taking a city up into the sky and having it float around. That's magical.
yeah, okay, well, you know.
Dude, don't you believe there's balls in the sky with land on them that are light years away?
And they're all
When
like
did the
surrounded by
Royal
magical dark
Astronomical
energy.
Society? When did they see this other body? I'm assuming it was
I think it's
also
the
a
1800s,
half
maybe
degree
late
inside.
1700s.
I tried looking at hits on it.
I'm also curious, like what does he mean by he saw Ra during the eclipse? Like what did you see
I saw a
specifically?
video of it. It's funny. It's basically nothing.
Not Ra, Rahu.
So I'm lagging. I don't know when this is gonna come in.
I
Hopefully
hear
It's the
ya.
keep talking
crickets,
and
dude.
eventually you guys hear me. So it's a black sun with a basically a ring of light around it. So like a pretty much just like a halo, the size of the moon and the sun. Yeah.
You saw that right when the eclipse happened? Interesting. All right, what did they name this thing that they saw, or how do I find it? What's it? I can't
So
find
the
it.
ancient claims are not that you
Not
the
the
ancient
ancient
claims
one,
is that it's cloaked.
I'm thinking of
Okay,
the
it's
Royal
not, you can't
Astronomical
just see it.
Society one.
It's like a cloaked city or whatever. Like it's late 1700s, early 1800s. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's something just like the original picture from the Apollo mission that has the Earth in the background. And then we noticed that according to the actual position they are on the moon, that they shouldn't even be able to see it at that angle. And then we did the color contrast and found out that there was a box around the moon, and everyone downloaded the image straight from NASA in 2015. And magically, 2 years later, the new uploaded picture didn't have that in the contrast, or they actually just chopped off the Earth eventually. They literally chopped the Earth out of the picture on the official NASA website. So like, I don't know what you're looking at. I just know that I've seen
I
it
thought
in the
Flat
official
Earther
records.
admitted to doctoring it. I thought
No, I
someone
watched Rob
admitted to
Skiba do it.
doctoring that.
No, Rob Skiba did it live in front of everyone.
There were
The box
several that
around the
they
moon?
changed on the official NASA website. Like over the years, there's been several ones that they've changed to where the one you
And like
download now is different. Like they
Yeah.
they basically fixed their mistake.
Yep, in like 2015, Rob Skiba was giving a presentation and did it live. Downloads the image, contrasts the image in front of everyone. There's a box around the moon. And then NASA officially cut the Earth out of the picture.
When
How's that not so
Do you
suspect,
know what
bro?
the
I'm
explanation
trying to
of the box
find
is?
this hidden body from late 1700s. Can you give me anything else? Was it? Did they think it was a planet? Did they
It's
say
like a
what?
cloaked Romulan ship in orbit.
No, they didn't claim all that. He just said he saw like he just claimed that there was another body in the sky.
Like another planet? They say how big it was.
It's like Wakanda, dude. You just can't see it, but it's there.
You mean like dark energy and dark matter?
Yeah, I'm just trying.
And
I just
like,
want.
that isn't
Okay,
just irrelevant. You guys just genuinely, for whatever reason, think that when you guys believe stuff like that, it's acceptable. But if there's anything else that like we're not able to like tangibly grasp, it can't be possible, and we're insane people.
Well, if I
It's just
told
a
you that, if I said
major
they,
blind spot you have.
if I said, hey, we lifted last week, they lifted Beijing up into the sky and it's floating around Earth. You can't see it, but trust me, it's there. Knowing what you know about science, you would say, yeah, that sounds.
Bro,
Well, that's
there's
why I
literally
don't make a
there's
definitive
literally
claim about there being
drawings
a
of
city in the sky.
I know it's smart. I wouldn't either. But
I can
this,
almost confirm that
I'm sorry,
Wakanda
I'm
is made
lagging.
out
I'm
of
just gonna
dark
try it
matter.
again. Hopefully you guys stop talking. Negroes, they're
I-
called Viyamanas. There's drawings of them in many Indian paintings.
Those are different than this though, but like, okay, so here's the deal, right? This is what all of mankind said throughout all of history. In all of history, people like you have mocked them and claimed they were retarded, and claimed that what they said was retarded, and claimed that they couldn't build the things that they claimed. Oh, the Exodus never happened. Oh, this city never existed. Da 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 da. Super cocky, super arrogant. Oh, it exists. Trust me, bro. It's just under the ground. And then we find it every single time. And then you guys have to push back your story. Now all of a sudden, humans haven't been on Earth for 100,000 years. It looks like we might have been here for a full million years, and we should have had intellectual consciousness for about 500,000 of those years. It was just 100,000 though. And like you just push it back. Oh, humans, they haven't had civilizations except for like 5,000 years. Oh, never mind. It's global techie or whatever it's called. Let's push it back to 12,000 years. So everything that mainstream has said about like history has been wrong. I don't care what they have to say about anything. These people had immaculate like documentation of the sky. They predicted the cyclical nature of the sky with immense precision, and they had architecture that is mind blowing. And they all wrote stories that overlap with each other, separated by thousands of miles. Okay, so
well,
it's
then
like,
they
yeah.
probably in their precise
Can we address something? Can we address something? I mean,
But we have Walmart,
You're
so
breaking
you know.
up.
All right, that's my
Like
joke.
if they precisely documented the sky, they probably told us where the city was. If it's big enough to block the sun and they saw it and they wrote about it, then like,
Yeah,
where
they
is it?
just they claim that that's what causes the eclipse. They claim that it's cloaked. So whatever, you know, like the Egyptians wrote about it and said,
But why is that? Why does that happen only when the sun is 180 degrees from the Earth and the
that's when
moon?
he that's when
Does
he
it only block the sun and the moon and not the stars?
First of all, you realize that you reverse engineered your model. You guys seem to fail to grasp that still. You act like they just one person woke up one day and was like, I think the earth might be a globe. Let's just test it out. And then we went and looked and everything worked out. That's not how it happened at all. Do you guys even know how they claim to determine the size of the earth?
I don't know. Like we're on this like city that's blocking the sun. Can we stick
No,
on
no,
this for
no.
a
This
minute?
is all
Or
relevant
now
though
we're
to the
gonna jump
whole
onto another
eclipse
topic.
claim. It's specifically
Different
relevant
topic.
to the eclipse claim. Do you agree the size of the earth is specifically relevant to the eclipse claim?
Not solar eclipses, no. Lunar eclipses, yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about. What's happening right now outside?
Lunar eclipse.
Okay.
You know they're tied together. You get a lunar eclipse, half a lunar cycle after a solar eclipse. So why is the city? Is it also the city creating the solar eclipse?
I mean, I guess we're looking at it right now. Seafoam, can you zoom in, see if we see any
Is there
details
a
of a
city there? Do
or
you see like any
there?
skyscrapers?
I'm not seeing
No,
very
the
many
city was just a
skyscrapers.
the city was a giant building. It's called the Tower of Babel. That's the story. You can disagree with the story. I don't care. I'm not even claiming to know the story's true. I'm just saying that all of ancient civilizations claim there was
Hang
another
on, hang
body.
on. Are you claiming the
Well, how about
Tower
you
of Babylon
hang on when I'm not in the middle
is
of
the
talking
one?
next time?
Were you saying that it's a Tower of Babel that's up in the sky?
That's the story. The story is written
Where?
by multiple. Why are you
Yeah, could
interrupting
you
me again?
let me finish because you didn't let me finish? Could
That
you
isn't true. You
cite
asked me a
where?
question, buddy. I
Could you
promise you this isn't going to
cite?
happen. Hey,
Could
buddy,
you
I
cite
promise
where
it's not
that
going to
is written
happen.
down anywhere?
I'm just telling you right now. I promise it's
Could
not
you
going to
point
happen. You're
us
not
to a
going to bully me on
source?
the microphone. It's not how it's going to work. It's not going to happen. I'm
Well,
respecting
show
you and letting you
show
speak.
at
You're
least.
not gonna,
Yeah.
dude. You're not gonna ask me a question. Then when I go to answer, just start talking all over me, acting like I'm being interrogated in a deposition. That's not how this works.
Yeah, Stefan,
So,
let's try to just go one at a time. Yeah, you asked him a question. If you could let him respond.
So I explained it's multiple different stories, but they all tell the stories in different languages, right? So they all talk about Nimrod, who's the one who built Babylon, and they all claim he's a mighty hunter. He was 2/3 man, one third God. That he held lions as pets. That he was going to build a tower to go to heaven and take over heaven. Blah blah blah. You have Arab stories, Egyptian stories, Greek stories, Hebrew stories. They're written all over the world with different names. You have Apollo, Osiris, Gilgamesh, Nimrod, but they're all described exactly the same as the mighty hunter. He built this huge city. Da 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 da. The Egyptian depiction of it is they claim that Ra is the guy who took the city up and then dwelled in heaven. They claim that he had beef and humans started getting mad at him, whatever. He said he was going to leave and then come back later. Right. And then if you look at it from like a
Can I
biblical
ask you a
lens, then it
question
would
at
be
some point?
Nimrod built it. Just a second. Nimrod built the city. Satan helped him. And then he lifted Babylon up. And then Nimrod is in chain and eventually gets out. And then Satan gets thrown down with his inhabitants to rule for 42 months or whatever. You can say like all these are fake, but my point is that there's an overlap of all of them, and they all write about the same thing. And mankind has consistently been super arrogant and thought they had all the answers and that they were stupid and all their stories were fake, and they've been proven wrong every single time. Mainstream archaeology has been wrong every single time, without exception. So why would I believe them right
We're
now?
looking
They're
at the
just as
city.
arrogant right now as they were
First of
30
all,
years ago.
You're okay. We're looking at the city
Bro, I
right
want to
now
go next.
on the
I want to
screen.
go next, fucker.
Let's just do a list. Let's do QOP and then and Finky and then someone else. Go ahead. QOP. Or Steffi before.
So yeah.
Steffi. Go ahead, dude. You're delayed. Go ahead.
I agree with. What is that?
You're delayed. Just go ahead. You're like 5-6 seconds. So just go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go. Oh my god, I found the cricket. I'm gonna kill the cricket while I'm delayed and talking to Woods. So I believe in what you're saying, but like that makes more sense with like, oh my god, the cricket's running, with the Anunnaki version of things. Because obviously, if this guy can fly via mana up to heaven, it's not the heaven like in the spiritual sense. It's a heaven, as in like that's how they described the higher parts of the cosmos. Oh my god, he's running. Dude, there's a giant cricket.
Yo, so look at this picture real fast. Like, look, like if you zoomed back out, you see it's not like it's not even a curve. Look at that. Why does it look like that?
Does it respond to anything?
Yeah, I mean, dude, okay. I disagree with the Anunnaki, especially like the Hitchens translation. If you actually look at the Sumerian tablets
That's
that
not what
comes
I'm
from,
saying. Dude, I just used
I'm
that word, and
talking,
now
man.
you're
I'm so
going down.
bro.
Hey, but
The
that's a straw man. That's not what I mean by Anunnaki. I just mean the dudes you were talking about.
Okay, so the Sumerian tablets are not. No one knows how to interpret them. That's an isolative language. There's
I
nothing to go
agree
based
with
off of.
you.
Stop interrupting me. It's an isolative language. Then they go to the Akkadians,
You're
and
not
there's a little bit of
responding to
an.
what I said. You're just strong.
The whole
We turning
story is
the
made.
Eclipse into a Bible study.
This has nothing to do with the Bible. What does Sumerian tablets have to do with the Bible?
What does
Yeah,
Anunnaki have to do with the Sumerian tablets translation?
That's where the idea of Anunnaki came from.
No, there's
Could say
many
they were
different
all.
versions of that name in different languages.
Some people say they were all fake documents that were foisted upon us after the
They're
last
not
great reset.
documents. They're not
Hold on, I
documents.
wasn't done. After the last great reset, it's our fake history that was given to us.
Okay,
Some
so you're
people
just
say that.
trolling. You're just trolling. Okay.
No, we talked about it 2 nights ago. There are people
No, I know,
legit
but you're just
making that
trying to
argument.
troll and like serve him up to do that. But look, all I'm trying to say is like, who cares? I don't care. Who cares what it is? The idea is just that it isn't exclusive to the idea of a Earth being a globe in between it. And when you actually look in the history of how we even got it, it took forever for you guys to even come up with the model where the math works for eclipses. So, I mean, like, if you actually look into the official story of how you guys got your model, it's the most laughably fake nonsense I've ever heard. We looked at Venus and we just said, let's just pretend it's the same size as the Earth, even though we have no idea. And just conveniently, we discovered tons of time later that actually it was almost exactly the same size as Earth. So all of our math worked out. Shut up.
Yeah, now we can
It's all
perfectly
fake.
predict eclipses, lunar and solar, get perfect path of totality. I mean, yeah, maybe it took a while to get there. We worked through different revisions of it, but like we
Yeah.
can do that. You can't.
Wait, what? Why can't
You have
took
a
hundreds of
floating
years.
tower. Your best thing is a story about the Tower of Babel that might be up there floating in the sky, blocking
That's not my best
light.
thing. It doesn't have to be that. It could be all kinds of things.
What's your best thing? Best explanation for a lunar
Dark
surge.
matter.
Well, I don't really know. Like, it could be based on an alignment in an electromagnetic field. It could be polarization of light. Have you ever looked at lenses? Have you ever looked at lenses with polarized light?
Yeah, I see like rainbows and stuff in them.
No. You know, like it's called does anyone know what it's called? It's called the Venn diagram paradox or the quantum paradox. It completely refutes the claim that light is made of little particles called photons. If you take a polarized lens, and it's the light shining through it, then you take another polarized lens and turn it 180 degrees, it'll block out all the light. If you take a third lens and add it to it, all of a sudden the light comes back through, showing that 180-degree second lens is not physically blocking little photons from coming through. It's just an optical effect on what allows you to view the light based on polarization. And when you add a third lens, it comes through. They call it the quantum paradox. They cannot even mathematically explain how that much light comes through. It's also called the Venn diagram paradox. My point is that it perfectly imitates an eclipse. Perfectly
So
imitates one.
what's polarizing the light, and why does it happen at this particular point in
It would be
time
just
in
a
the cycle?
cyclical relationship in the entirety of the system. Whatever, like I would have to know what the moon is and what's even causing it. What's the point source of it? I mean, good question, but there are multiple things that can cause polarization. If we're in a
Well, I
gigantic
mean, the
magnetic
moon's not
field,
causing it. It's something. It would be something in between the light source and the moon, right?
sure, yeah, or no, just the light of the moon, whatever its source is, could then be polarized. So,
So
like
there'd be
on the
something in
way,
between us. There'd be something in between the moon and us.
It's the shadow.
yes,
Ooh.
it's like think about no, this is why I think it's goofy, like stuff like this. If I was talking to an actual physicist, they would never make some goofy sound like that, mocking the Venn diagram paradox. They would entertain. They would at
I'm
least
not
engage with
mocking
it.
anything. We say it's a shadow on the moon caused by the Earth getting between it and the sun. Shadow. That's
And
what
it
it is.
took you hundreds of years of making up new stories and revisions and little asterisks and well there's 17 wobbles and this happens at this time and let's just move the scale this way.
Completely
So
predictable.
no,
Wait,
it's
but
completely predictable now
you're
after
saying we
thousands
didn't.
of years.
When did we first suspect that it was the sun causing a shadow? My guess
By
is
the way,
that's been around for a while, right?
I'm playing a
That idea.
video. I'm playing a video. Anyone, you don't have to have the audio on, but anyone who wants to look at the screen share, I'm just going to play it because it's going to show the Venn diagram paradox. It's also called Bell's theorem, but it is very interesting. If you add a third lens between the other two, it allows you to see through it again. So yeah, that's why they have to call it a paradox in their model.
Yeah,
I think you're sharing audio.
You can just watch this. Tell me that doesn't look like an eclipse, bro. It does.
I mean, it might. Every shadow looks like an eclipse.
Okay, it's not even true, but okay. Every shadow looks like an eclipse. What the hell?
Polarized filters do look a lot. I know there's pretty amazing overlaps, but he shows how if you put the third one in,
boom. Isn't that crazy?
I wonder if the video will explain it.
Oh, you know,
The
he'll show
polarized
you. Yeah, he shows you the math and how it's not possible to solve for it, and that's why it's called a paradox. Like, if you
Can you
assume
get a
that
nice soft edge on that?
he does all the math in this video. He does all the math.
And he does get a nice soft edge on it.
You like your edges soft?
Well, I'm just to match the eclipse would be good.
Just wondering.
Somebody said
There's
something
a
about my
whole
hand
spectrum.
a
There's a
while
whole
ago. What did
spectrum
y'all
of it
say?
based. There's a whole spectrum of the crispness of the edge relative to the angle of light. That's why he started chipping it around. It started getting lighter and darker. So it goes black at 180, right? And then the third one that's introduced has to be at a specific angle relative to that. So if you start to twist it away or like twist it away from 180, it gets a little bit lighter. So if you were to move it over there, right, it's not going to be as crisp if it's further away from 180. But anyway, I mean, this does not allow people to believe. I mean, they can still believe it, but like light is not little light paintballs hitting you in the eye. Like that's just not real.
Well, they're not.
Okay, but this is your current your best
I know, I'm
your
intentionally
best
being-
go-to explanation for the lunar eclipse is that light from the moon's being polarized by some disk before it reaches Earth.
Well, no, there's like
So
multiple
if light's-
claims, right? Some
Multiple
people
disks,
claim like they're
multiple disks.
like you're not open to anything. I'm open to everything. That's why we're different.
I'm just asking your
So-
best one. What you think?
if
What
the
your
light-
personal opinion is of the best explanation?
No, because then you want to like isolate that one and act like it's a definitive claim. It's the oldest little tactic you guys have ever done. It's stupid. So like there's a whistleblower that came out like a year or so ago, I think, and he worked for the military and he said that whenever they were like exploring the South, they also were exploring the North, and that at one point when they actually got to the direct North Pole, they saw that there was basically like a hole in it and you could enter it. He claims that what the rumors were is that you pop back out in the South. He claims he knows he's going to die. He's had multiple attempts on his life, but he's close to his deathbed, whatever. And he blows the whistle and says that happened. And you guys are just going to dismiss him, which is why it's like, yep, you're the kind of people that would never do anything like that.
I,
mean,
I
like
just wonder.
There it
I just
is,
wonder
guys.
why you believe it.
Pac-Man confirmed.
Yeah. No. Why would you believe that though?
Why would I believe it? Because it's a guy that worked in the military and he came out and blew the whistle on his deathbed. Like if you were a part of that and you weren't allowed to say anything, the only way you'd be able to say something is if you're willing to die. So it's like not necessarily true just because you can prove the guy's credentials and he was well revered and that he's never had any marks against him and you can prove that he's had multiple attempts on his life once he started talking about anything to do with this. And then right before, like once he got way older, he gives a speech and announces it and says like I'm being cautious about exactly what I say because I'm pretty sure that they may try to kill me after this. Doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but you guys live in a world where you have to believe it's not true.
Well,
So
okay,
it's
but
like
I would say there's there's people that say there's aliens from outer space that landed on Earth, and the government. I know the secrets. I'm a whistleblower. The government. I'm going to get killed for this knowledge. What do you think of those people?
can you verify that they were actually in the military with like a revered resume for decades?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well then I believe that they believe the story, right? Like the way that the military works is compartmentalization. Like it's just like who is the famous guy Lazar, Bob Lazar. I don't think Bob Lazar lied about anything, and I think almost everything he said was untrue. Those are not
He's a
mutually
fraud.
exclusive.
He's a
No, he
total
wasn't a
fraud.
fraud. No, that's what you say because you live in that world. That's not my problem. But what they do
No.
is it's very simple. It's very simple what they would do. They would make up all kinds of stories. They would break everything up and compartmentalize it. If they discovered something they wanted to reverse engineer, they're going to have physicists come in and look at it individually, different parts individually, and then they're going to tell them a backstory that they completely made up. Oh, we believe that this may have came from this star system or whatever. And if they know it's completely fraudulent, they don't want them to know what's going on. And they do that because if anyone does leak information, they're able to track it back to who like basically snitched. They're able to know exactly who blew the whistle because they only told that story to one person. So of
Yeah, so
course
maybe the
they
same thing's true
compartmentalize it.
for the North Pole. Maybe the same
That's
thing's
true.
true
The
for the
only
North
thing about
Pole
that is
story.
the thing about it is you haven't seen it. You should go listen to it, right? It wasn't the military that told him that. It was the people that he was in the military with. Right. So it's a
Like,
little different.
Dude, I've
not
been
that.
into ufology since I was a teenager, and he has been so debunked so many times. He went to freaking Pierce College down the street from where I grew up. I mean, he was not, he didn't go to MIT. He couldn't remember, he couldn't name a single professor at MIT. Nobody from MIT
Are
remembered
you saying
him.
something about your own education?
No, I'm
Are you
talking
claiming
about
Bob? You claiming Bob Lazar was?
Bob
This is
Lazar.
here's
He was
the
a
truth.
total
Okay,
fraud.
well, dude, check this out, dude. My junior year, I went to like a small private school, and we took the ASVAB test. And because of my score, this guy came and visited a couple days later. He pulls me out of class, and he tells me he works for the military. And he starts like asking me to join the military after I graduate. I'm like, no, I'm gonna like get a scholarship to football. I don't want to be in the military. My dad's in the military, whatever. And I'm like, I don't really agree with the like anything the government does. He just kept trying to talk me into it. And he was like, you can do basically whatever you want. And he said that it depending on how you score on other tests and stuff, that you could get put into like kind of like a special ops program that no one will really know about. And he's like, that's like the life that it's like you've heard of James Bond. It's just
Yeah, I had a
you will
recruiter
know.
come to my house too with it.
Yeah, they try and say whatever, but this guy was clearly like they do have black op operation. Like they don't. There's no doubt they get smart people and then they have them do stuff that we'll never know about. It's just how I mean it would be stupid to think they don't do that. So like you can't blindly believe anyone that claims to know something, but you can't just blindly dismiss everything because that's why no one comes out and says anything. They don't get believed and they have to risk their life for it. It sucks. That's exactly what the government would do would be discredit anybody that came out and spoke about it.
Okay, so you shouldn't be frustrated when we choose not to believe him, just like you
No,
choose
but it's
not to
just
believe the
funny. You
alien
haven't even
people.
listened to him yet. No, it's not that I choose not to believe in the alien people. Have you ever looked into the foundation of NASA? They were admittedly doing like all kinds of occult crazy practices talking to entities. You guys love NASA. You
By
don't
the
like to
way,
talk about how they
Witsit,
provably time out. You don't like to talk about how they were provably started by Satanists that were doing rituals on NASA's facilities. Provably.
Dang, that's scary.
No,
And
that's weird. It's super weird.
Shaking.
And space was discovered by Nazis and their rockets.
And no one's ever been to the
Witsit, the
moon
three
except for
polarizer
Mormons,
paradox.
Catholics, and Freemasons.
Are you saying that if you have a 0-degree polarizer and then a 90-degree polarizer, and then after the 0 and the 90, you put like a 45-degree polarizer, that you would then get light coming out of it.
No. The 45
You have
has
to
to
put
be in
the
the middle.
45 in the
Well, hold on,
middle.
I just want Witsit to be clear when he was talking about it. Is that what he meant when he
So
said
you
that?
wait,
You think the light is
two
what?
people jumped in to correct you. You cut them off and said, no. I just want Austin to be. So you're just are you hoping to get some gotcha?
No, I just wanted to know because that's what you said, right? You
If you
said
just
that
wanted to know,
you
why
put the
would you
two
cut off the two
polarizers
people that were
together
answering
and
you?
there's no light, but actually you put a third polarizer and then you get light. That's what you said.
Yeah, you put it in between them. I already said that.
Yeah.
That's
The middle
not a
one.
paradox then, because
Oh my God, you don't
you're.
understand it. Did you watch the
It's not.
video?
It's not a paradox. It's well
Okay.
understood.
No, okay,
Yeah, the
explain it.
middle one's twisting it, basically. The middle polarizer is helping to like twist the polarization of the light. So more of it gets through the last one. Like if you
Yeah,
had
you
a
get
lot of
25%
them.
out of the last one. If you have a 0, a 45, and a 90, you get 25%.
All right, can we give
Yeah.
zzpop a minute on the mic? Because you made a comment and you said that it is explained with quantum physics. Because we didn't, there's a couple other topics that have come up, but yeah, someone brought this one up against polarization. So ZZ, did you want to comment on it without being interrupted? Hopefully, Jake or whoever else, just let him go.
Yeah, so the polarization of light is which way it's wiggling. And what happens when you send it through a polarization filter that is completely aligned to it, all of it gets through. And if you send it at one that is completely 90 degrees to it, none of it gets through. And if you send it at one that's 45 degrees to it, like half of it gets through. So two ones that are each sequentially 45 degrees twisted from the last one, you get a half of it through. You get more through having to go through two like rotated 45-degree polarizers, one from the last, than just simply at something that's 90 degrees to the light. Yeah. So and again, it's like if you stacked a ton of them, which were each just like a degree off from the last, like have 90 of them, each 1 degree off from the last, have 900 of them, each a tenth of a degree off from the last. And the more you put like that with the smaller and smaller change from one to the next, the more of the light gets through. You're kind of helping to guide and twist the light through the polarizers because like the change from one polarizer to the next is really gradual.
So the idea of it twisting, right? Like it works more with like a wave interpretation,
Yes.
but like the standard logic of like photons, we know the exact amount that's supposed to come through, right? You can just do the math based on the angles that what's being blocked and what's not or whatever. And
Mhm.
they can't get the math to work, which is why it's called a paradox, right? Like the standard logic of the photon model doesn't work.
Well, no, it doesn't work with the classical wave equation. It does work with the photon equation. As far as why you get a slight statistical difference between the two, as far as how much light gets through the different polarizers.
From my understanding, right, that when you use the standard model of photons, you get the prediction of the amount of like the percentage of
Mhm.
photons that should come through, but
Yep.
it doesn't actually match the amount of light that comes through.
No, I'm pretty sure it does match the photon prediction. It doesn't match the classical non-photon prediction. I mean,
Okay.
we could look it up.
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong.
And photons are still waves. I just want to be
Well,
clear. They're
that's
not
well,
paintballs.
that's the yeah, but I mean, yeah, but they're both. They're the wave
Mhm.
particle duality, and sometimes they're a
Yeah.
wave and sometimes they're a particle.
I mean, I think that they are what they are, regardless of the convoluted ways that people have tried to describe them. I mean,
Well,
whatever type.
you obviously know about the double slit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's your take on that?
What do you mean? What's my take on it? We send things through the double slit and we see the pattern at which they land. And the pattern fits a wave pattern. But the
Right.
impact dots are individual impact dots.
Right. So how do you explain that?
Well, I think of it as a fundamentally wave-like entity. And the very non-intuitive part is that when its energy gets absorbed by the matter that it's striking, instead of that energy being dissipated over a large space, it is randomly, but under probabilistic bounds as to where this will happen, all the energy gets absorbed at a single point. So, like, where we see the impact spot was the energy of the wave getting absorbed by the matter, whatever the photosensitive plate was that, um, you know, created the dot when it got struck.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean that's similar to what I think, honestly. Like obviously, like the kind of like the archaic interpretation of the photoelectric effect is just retarded. Like this idea that you're like just shooting the atom or whatever, an electron pops out. But like, I do think that the dot pattern is explained based on the interaction of the plate and the light itself. But I would say, like, my understanding though is like that the photon is a phenomenon. It's not like a entity. It's just where the oscillating electric and oscillating magnetic field intersect. Just like an intersection point. It's not like any corporeal entity, and so it's just a wave. I mean that's my understanding.
I
I
mean,
don't
yeah,
see
I mean,
any phenomena in physics that needs me to invoke a photon.
there's wildly varying interpretations, because these are interpretations about something that fundamentally we haven't observed. Being like, what's the nature of light before you see it, right? What's the nature of light before it actually hits the detector? Um, all we know is what happens when it hits the detector, and all these different interpretations are debating about what the correct model is before it hit the detector. So, which is sort of a metaphysical question almost. But I definitely think that the easiest way for me to imagine it is um, to think of light as fundamentally being wave-like, distributed across space. Um, but there is something very unintuitive and weird going on when it encounters matter, when it interacts with matter, that instead of kind of baking the matter in a very kind of smooth way, across the entire surface of the matter that it's hitting, that like it delivers its energy kind of completely evenly spread. Instead, there are these intersection points where a lot of energy is exchanged between the light and the matter. I don't think of the photon as being like an object that existed prior to measurement. I think it's sort of what we call a singular detection of a burst of energy
Oh,
of
photographic plate.
light, yeah, interacting with the photographic plate. And there is something weird there, which is, why does its energy sort of puncture the photographic plate at these distinct, small, concentrated points, as opposed to something kind of more smoothly and evenly spread out across the entire thing? Why does it take the form of dots rather than just sort of a much more smooth, like gradual darkening or lightening of the photographic plate?
Yeah. You know what you might
Across the whole thing.
find interesting. So like the Lamb shift that's named after Willis Lamb. It's a magnetic phenomenon. But anyway, he writes a paper called "The Photoelectric Effect Without the Photon,"
Mhm.
and he wrote that like 50 years ago, or maybe in the 50s. But yeah, he proposes multiple alternative explanations as to why that would happen. So like the fundamental nature of light and what people are calling electrons itself could drastically change what we think is or isn't expected. You know what I mean? But so I looked this up and it says like, okay, the version that doesn't work is like the little marble standard photon model. So like the standard photon model that was like held to all this time before quantum came and then kind of revised it doesn't work. Right. If you just assume they're like little billiard balls that
Oh
have
yeah,
like a
yeah,
fixed shape and a fixed
no,
angle.
that does not work.
Yeah. So then what they claim is for the quantum model to work, right? They call it a discrete packet of energy that travels as a wave of probabilities. But then they're like, but it interacts with the universe as like a single, like localized particle or whatever. But so yeah, I mean, this is the thing with quantum. They have these ideas that kind of get you out of anything. They claim that the photon exists in a superposition. So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, does it though? You know, like a superposition where some will pass and some will fail, and the filter basically like forces a decision to be made, and then
Yeah.
the wave function collapses. So I mean, that's a cool story and all, but
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know, and
this
then of
is
course you get into the
this is
quantum one too.
the prevailing kind of language and framework of interpretation of quantum mechanics. It's not one that I'm particularly a fan of. I don't think that this gives the most helpful or the clearest picture. The whole idea of wave function collapse is very problematic and ill-defined in how they try to describe it. Um, yeah, so I'm not a proponent of these interpretations.
Yeah.
And I do think that the concept of a particle like a photon is not something that, yeah, it's not like a pre-existing object in my mind. That's like my reading of quantum field theory makes it seem pretty explicit to me that the concept of a particle is just sort of a definition of a measurement event. It's like we've built a detector in a certain way with a certain sensitivity threshold. And when we get a blip, we're calling that a particle, right? But it is what it is an exchange of energy with these fields. And the particle as an object doesn't really make sense sort of outside of the moment of detection. So I sort of think of it as just kind of sort of a name we've given um, to what isn't actually sort of the interface between the measuring device and the energetic fields that it's trying to interact with. A singular moment of energy exchange, and that's what we call the particle. But it's like, there wasn't a solid, you know, platonic object like flying around in space. It's this is just a moment of absorption of energy, from the field into the measurement device, like a wire, like a photo sensitive plate or whatever the measurement device is.
Yeah, I think we are pretty close to each other.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, probably some distinction. Like my understanding of light is that it's omnipresent, and the visibility of light is just based on the excitation of the medium, which is a lot like even what's kind of like accepted now. But the difference is, of course, more definitional, right? Like they claim that there are like overlapping fields, even just photon fields everywhere, but they're all within the field. And you have the Higgs boson field that basically permeates all of space, but it's not the ether somehow or whatever. But I just think like now there's just a medium. There's just a medium, and that medium
Yeah,
has multiple
sure.
different characteristics within it, excitations within it. And when there's a
Mhm.
perturbation of that background, a certain perturbation will excite it to where it's visible, right? And then that excitation, basically like a rate of illumination, we call that the speed of light, but it's really kind of like a rate of induction because it's
Mhm.
already there. It's not traveling from point to point. You know what I mean? Like it's already there, just like it lights up at a certain rate. Um, so yeah, then any interaction within the physical world, like then you get into like with the photographic plate, you'd have to, define the electron first, which I have a different understanding of that as well. I think it's like the gap in between dielectric fields. I think it's basically like a pressure point within the field, and I think, and this requires some speculation, but like I think Tesla was probably more in the right direction where he claims like static electricity is just the ether under stress. And that causes like basically a vibrational displacement that gives you a static electricity. And then you have electric fields because like electrostatic, dielectric, like tomato, tomato. And you have these dielectric fields, and then there's a pressure point between them, and we call them electrons, but they're not actually there. It's a phenomena that we've isolated, and it's relative to the field. And so then when you start trying to claim it's like this little particle, this corporeal particle, which they claim it is corporeal, right? Like they claim it's material. Then you
Well,
run
some
into all kinds of
people, I
issues.
mean,
Well, most people. that the electron has matter.
You guys claim you smash particles together, dude.
Yeah.
They would claim that wasn't exclusive, right? It's just a physical interaction of the field.
Yeah, I mean, so under a field theoretic view, that's pulses of energy and stress within different fields having a strong close range interaction.
So, bro, how funny is it that Charles Produce Steinmetz wrote that over a century ago? Like, how goofy is it that this was pretty well understood well over a century ago by the fatherheads of electrical field theory? They were thrown out, and then effectively the idea was ridiculed. And there's like just like slight variations here and there. Like we've learned some new things in the field of quantum, right? But like the fundamental nature of these like these phenomena, like they still work as defined by like Charles Proto Steinmetz, who was like a genius, right? A short guy with a cane that perfected the AC generator after Tesla made it, and no one talks about him. But he writes a book and he explains exactly, basically exactly what you just said.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, this is an ongoing paradigm debate of fields as fundamental and particles as just kind of a name we've given to approximately sort of trying to identify a sort of fuzzy region within the field where there's a particular amount of energy density and stress that kind of rises above some threshold of detection we say like we felt something there versus the sort of fundamental corporeal conceptualization of particles, and these paradigms lead in somewhat different directions of thought. I know that like a lot of education for the general public and a lot of science media for the general public will fall back on like the little billiard balls model of particles. But my experience is that most theoretical physicists either are um, very pro just like a fields are fundamental, particles are a kind of illusory artifact of the way we're defining measurements of energy exchange. Or they're just kind of agnostic on the whole topic. Like they just are like, I'm not here to debate the interpretation of these frameworks at all. Like I'm just here to do calculations.
That's gay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll tell this room that hopefully they're listening to you. Because if I said that, no. But yeah, this is why I just make the joke that they're not like little paintballs that hit us in the eye, though, because like that is the way that we were taught at a young age. I mean, maybe not in college. And I mean, I went to a private university and I was a physics 1 and 2 honors, and like this was a while back, I guess, right? I mean, I graduated in like 2010, but like I had a good physics teacher, and I mean, there was like the confounding nature of light was explained, but for all intents and purposes, like we just were basically taught this like billiard ball model.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's still unfortunately pretty typical for most undergraduate college levels. It's really unfortunate. Um, yeah, I would very much like to change that as far as how physics is typically taught, because I think that the lower levels are still very much taught with some real kind of anachronistic visual metaphors and images and sort of phrases about things that have sort of stuck around for historical reasons that um, don't even reflect where most of the active community is at the higher
And all the
levels.
evidence is, yeah. Like, well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you my blunt take here. Okay, we're probably gonna veer off here, but so like my understanding of this is the reason for that is not random. For one, like obviously there's the pride component, and almost like all new breakthroughs of physics or any related paradigm kind of has to wait for the older people to die out. That's what Dr. Bennett told me. But um, beyond that, like it's a major issue. Meaning, like if you invoke something akin to an ether with like actual properties, you run into a big issue with Michelson-Morley and just other tests early on prior to relativity. Like you have to what you have to do is go back and reinterpret those things, right? So like what they're doing instead of that is trying to come up with ideas that either A, they just claim that the rest of the universe is basically distinct from this quantum scale and it's like magic or whatever, which is stupid because it makes up everything else. Or they're trying to take the quantum observations and create a model that still can be intertwined relativistically, which will never happen. They're fundamentally at odds, in my opinion. And then the other option, which is just very simple, it has all the explanatory power. It has like an endless amount of variations that can be applied to it, of just like an actual primary substantive medium with actual properties, and all this phenomena arises out of the excitations of that medium. Well, if it has actual properties and there's an impedance of free space, et cetera, then if you go back to MMX and we're moving through space, we have to explain that. We have to explain how light has a fundamental relationship with the background medium that's inseparable, and it can be measured against intend, that's the natural implication of it. And there's an impedance factor. Like if we invoke an actual medium, we have real issues explaining Michelson-Morley, right? Like in terms of like explanatory power, not just mathematically. And so I don't think that they would ever want to deal with that. I just don't think.
Well,
I think they don't even know that that's what they're doing.
Can I add? It
Well,
wouldn't
there
just be
is
it wouldn't just be MMX. It would be all interferometry because the Earth's moving within all those experiments.
so first of all, like I personally, I find these topics very fascinating. I do want to make a comment though when people are like, "Oh, tell it to the Globers," which is just that I don't think there's a lot of Globers here who are like super hot and bothered by like debating interpretations of quantum mechanics or frontier cosmology. I mean, most of the debates are about the shape of the Earth and the spin of the Earth, and we're, very far off field from that at this point with these topics. I guess other than the bridge
You just said how they're
MMX,
related.
well,
Just to clarify,
MMX,
that's not my experience, right? Like, if I'm looking at the list of people in here, a high percentage of them on the quote unquote other side have argued with me vehemently defending the archaic model of photons and telling me they know it's real, despite me trying to tell them that's not what's believed anymore. I mean, it's all good, but it comes into play at times without the speed of light, for example. I mean,
well, I use the word photon. I'm not saying photons aren't real. I'm just saying I interpret photons as a count of blips of the measurement device having absorbed energy from the field rather than a sort of pre-existing corporeal solid object that's bouncing around like a billiard ball. I'd still use the word photon.
yeah, because of phenomena. It's like it's a phenomena that happens. Like you have to. Why change the name? But like
Yeah.
the benefit of changing the name would be that it has such a archaic like
And
misnomer tied to
photons
it.
do behave like particles sometimes.
What?
I mean,
No,
these.
When they feel like
what support that claim.
Well, it's the detection thing. But wait, I want to address the MMX thing
Yeah,
because
yeah.
pre-special relativity, there was a different interpretation, which I prefer for the MMX experiment, which was, I forget what it was called, but it was like ether compression. It was what Lorentz came up with, where he was like, okay, so the interferometer, if it's moving through the ether, has to compress in the
Yeah.
direction of the ether.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I am
There's some
I
major
am
problems
pro
with it
that
though, bro.
interpretation. Yeah.
So check it. So he proposed that, and that's where you get the whole like Lorentz contraction math that Einstein uses, of course. And he just
Yes.
throws the mechanism out. Like he never even proposes a mechanism. He throws the medium out, throws the mechanism out, takes the math, and just says, "I don't get it, but trust me, bro," or whatever. But
Mhm.
the problem is Lorentz. You can test that theory, right? Like if there's an actual physical contraction, you can test it. So one, he was like, well, this does kind of fundamentally not make sense because why would it not change based on the density of the materials? Meaning, if there was like a physical compression from the ether, if I had like wood and I had steel, then logically speaking, the wood would be compressed more. But even more than that, they actually did a test where they had one arm slightly longer than the other one to see if there was like a physical change, and of course there wasn't, right? And this is where you get into the relativistic idea that you're not going to be able to see it change, but you're going to have to overlap the relativistic idea of not being able to see it change with the Lorentz medium. And of course Lorentz's model proposed like gives you an absolute reference frame, like you
Well,
can reference the ether itself.
yeah, but wait, I don't understand what you were referencing about saying there was an experiment to see if you could see the change, or relativity says you can't, because within relativity, same as the ether compression, if something is moving by you, you should see it as compressed, length contracted. Um, as far as I don't know how Lorentz originally conceptualized it, but if you
Well,
try to
let me make sure we're on the same page here, right? Like, okay, so Einstein had to write a letter and correct this at one point because he's like, there, everyone taking his theory is misunderstanding it, and that there is a real physical contraction that happens. It isn't merely an optical effect relative to reference frame of motion. Like, it's easy for people to think that, but it's a real physical effect. It's just relative to reference frame. And so, if you take that same idea and apply it to Lorentz's idea, well, like the reference frames really don't matter as much because like we're just on the earth, we're in the ether, we're moving through the ether. If it's compressing the actual apparatus, the apparatus is contracting. So like they tried to physically measure the apparatus afterwards, right? And of course didn't change.
They tried to
And so that
physically
was
what with
one of the
the
tests of one of the applications of Lorentz. I mean, you can try a relativistic application of it. I guess it's going to get kind of
sorry,
complicated when you start
just
changing
what was that
reference.
last thing you said? They tried to what with it
They
to see if
tried
it is.
to, and if anyone remembers the name of the test, they basically did MMX, but they made one of the arms slightly longer than the other one. Like because they were thinking, oh well, if Lorentz is correct, then this arm is going to contract a specific predictable amount,
Mhm.
right? And it didn't. But of course it didn't, you know. But yeah,
Well, what do you mean it didn't?
it was just the
I mean,
same
also,
size. I mean, like the arm didn't physically contract. Right, so, like, the distinction there is that Einstein's model is gonna say there is no actual physical properties. Like, okay, we're gonna attribute physical properties to the medium, but it's not like any ponderable media. Meaning, like, there's not like a physical interaction with the medium, but it has physical properties. And, like, he himself admits he doesn't really understand this, and that's why he says, like, "I'm not I should have I misspoke whenever I asserted the non-existence of an ether because we actually have to have an ether. I should have asserted the non-existence of an ether drift or an ether wind." And then he says, because without something akin to an ether, we have nothing to measure against. Like, how could we even use measuring clocks or whatever, measuring rods or clocks, right? My point is, like, there is no actual, like, substantive medium according to Einstein. So when I'm on the Earth, yeah, that, like, we're trying to test the orbit of the Earth, right? So it's a motion relative to the sun, the orbital motion of Earth. So, like, while I'm on the Earth, yeah, that distance contracts, and I would actually have to get off of the earth to be able to know that it contracted. So, like, there's no way to know, like, it's gonna look like it's the same size, but it actually got smaller, but because I'm in the same frame of reference that's moving, I'm not gonna know. But when you try to apply that to a substantive medium that's compressing matter, like, you would know. So you can't really invoke, like, the say, like, the geodesic path where we're, like, free falling through curved space, but the space has no like it's not a ponderable media because like the ether is. The ether is compressing something physically. It's a physical interaction, right? So
Mhm.
it's just like it's like a interpretive conundrum.
Mm.
Don't forget, don't forget they don't use the frame, the reference frame argument to explain a Sagnac effect because they actually get the fringe pattern they want, or they got a fringe pattern. So,
Well, what they try to claim is that's because of the angular displacement, right? So they claim that because it's an angular rotational effect, acceleration can be detected. Of course, because
Yeah.
Sadnek, yeah, Michelson Gale Pearson, just a giant ring laser gyro, basically. So you just
yeah,
have
but
like a rotating platform with light rotating in two opposite directions in a circle, and then the light that goes in the direction of the rotation goes a little faster. You can tell by when they intersect with each other, and then it matched within 98% accuracy of the sidereal rotation. But they didn't detect MMX. So the actual logical explanation for all of the tests is that the Earth isn't moving and the sky is rotating. There's only one type of motion, which is the sky's rotation, the sidereal rotation. But of course, they weren't gonna. That wasn't even on the table for them, right? Like, so they just said, okay, well, we have to come up with a way to explain why you wouldn't detect it. You can't detect Earth's orbit.
Also, I keep bringing up that I pointed this out to Alan too. The Fizeau experiment is set up like a ring laser gyro, except it's not. It's only doing one circuit around, and then it pretty much is over. But still, you should get a little bit of the Sagnac effect.
So while it is a contradiction because they use the same principles in MMX and MGP, like they claim it's not a contradiction because, and then they just reify the relativistic interpretation, which is it's just an idea, obviously, that I think is stupid, but that's how they're saying that we're free falling in a linear path. So like you can't detect linear velocity while you're on the Earth, and like you're free falling through the curvature of space. So it's a geodesic path. And so while we're on the Earth, we're not going to detect it because there's no change to detect. That way they can say it is curving, but it's not curving at the same time. But the real problem is where then you get into like the late 20th century and even like 5 or 6 years ago where they did detect linear velocity with interferometry, which would completely refute the entire get out of jail card relativity applied anyway. But more importantly than all that,
what
Lorentz
are you
actually
talking
offered a mechanism. What's that?
What'd you said they detected linear velocity with an interferometer, or what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
Wang detected linear motion with interferometer, which was previously
Is that
believed
like
to not be possible.
was that replicator, or is that like one of those fake? Because I'm starting to think that the clinker
Yeah.
fuse thing is fake.
Well,
Well, he
I would
replicated it
propose the
multiple
Wang
times. He used
thing.
like, go ahead.
It wasn't linear motion of the entire interferometer. It was different pieces of the interferometer undergoing linear motion, but separately from each other. Like the thing wasn't a rigid object. There was one part that was stationary and one part that was moving linearly with respect to the other part. So there was nothing that was spinning about its axis, but you still had relative motion between different components of the device to each other.
Yeah, okay. It's actually it's about the light in relation to the linear motion, though. It's not about the stationary components. That motion isn't even accounted for. But before we get into that whole thing, because that's a whole thing, the major thing, right, with what we're talking about is like in relativity, there's not even a mechanism for Lorentz contraction. There's no physical mechanism even put forth.
Or Fresnel drag.
Like it's literally retarded. It's not even a theory. There's literally not even a theory, right? And like Einstein admitted that, so he doesn't
Yeah,
understand
that's
it.
the standard way that introductory relativity is often presented, which isn't great at all. You can point to a mechanism, though, and that mechanism is simply the Lorentz force, the electromagnetic force that, like, I mean, why does an object have any size at all? Like, take a metal, just to take something simple where the atoms are basically evenly spaced in a row. Why is there the spacing gap that there is between two adjacent atoms? That's some equilibrium of the electric and magnetic forces between those atoms. Okay, so if you put the whole thing into motion, now you've got all the individual charged particles and all these atoms in the metal all in motion. And that motion changes what the strength of those forces are because the magnetic force depends on the velocity of a charged particle. So that changes the kind of net amount of attraction between adjacent atoms. So they shift closer to each other.
Well, how did you just claim the magnetic field requires the movement of the particle? What?
Well, yeah, I mean, it does. Yeah, magnetic fields come from a charged particle with velocity, and magnetic forces act on charged particles with velocity.
So circular.
That's what I mean.
What do you
That's
mean?
kind of what they say, right? But I mean, it doesn't really. Yeah, I mean, the math doesn't really work. Like, there's something else there, right?
No, this is a way to completely explain Lorentz length contraction as a outcome of the magnetic force law between the atoms, between the particles within a material. If they're moving, there are magnetic forces between them, and those forces will pull them closer together. And if they're stationary, there are fewer magnetic forces between them. So they'll relax back to their original distance apart.
You would be able to measure that, right? Like that would cause a
Yeah.
literal physical contraction.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying though. Like when they tried to test that, they couldn't measure it. I mean, they did a long time ago. I guess in theory you could get a more precise measurement now, right? But I've never heard of that. I mean, because obviously we can't just use the light itself because that's what's in question. We can't
Yeah.
use like the interferometry itself, like the interferometric measurement can't be used to say, oh, look, it did get shorter, because then we're just begging the question that we're in motion, right? And if we're trying to determine that externally, we now need to make a precise measurement of the arms. And to be fair, I guess that contraction is going to be a very small amount in terms of like any physical measurement. You would have to build like a really big test realistically. You build like
Well,
a
Yo,
big test.
real quick, unless we're going back eventually to that, what you say, wing interferometer, can you tell me what was the name so I can look it up?
I can find the paper for you in a second. I don't remember what the name of the paper is.
Well, I was going to say, you're not going to be able to measure the contraction if you're moving with the object, because then you and your rulers and any other device you would have used to measure its length will also be contracted by the same amount.
I mean, do you not see the problem though, bro? Like, yeah, that's true, but I mean, that's just unfalsifiable.
The Earth was
And
moving, you wouldn't feel it.
No, but it just means that you need a ruler that isn't moving in sync with the object whose length you're trying to measure. You just need, you have a ruler that's stationary and an object that's stationary, and you measure its length. And then the object is moving only the object is moving, and
If
then
this-
you measure it against the ruler. You
Right.
don't have both the object and the ruler measured.
So how would you
length.
notice this effect if this was happening if you can't notice it?
What do you mean? I would I would just try to record something on a high speed camera.
So
I would,
anytime a fringe pattern doesn't match the predictions of a model, that's when we know that space-time is squishing the arms of something.
You know they can actually measure. You can see light traveling. I think it's like a 2 billion frame per second camera, something like
no,
that.
you can see light become excited.
No, you see light propagating through
What appears to be travel, yeah.
through the medium.
But I would,
What appears
if
to
you
be
want,
travel.
if you want to try to observe and confirm or falsify length contraction, in principle, we just need to shoot something really fast. Like imagine we set up a warehouse and we put tick marks all against the back wall, and we just fire things across the warehouse. Bullets at increasingly fast speeds with an incredibly powerful high motion camera, and freeze frame on it and see, like, oh, is the moving thing the same length as when it was stationary? I'm just saying you don't want to try to, you can't measure this against something that's also moving at the same speed as itself, right? You want a stationary ruler, a stationary back wall for comparison against a moving object that's flying by it, and measure the length of the object before it's fired, and then while it's in mid motion.
Well, interaction with the medium, like say you shoot a bullet, like yeah, the bullet's gonna change size.
Okay,
and
yeah,
shape.
we'll pump out the air, so that we're doing this in a vacuum chamber. So then we know that it wasn't compression of the material of the bullet against a shock wave of the air.
Well, I don't think.
that
By the
there's
way, just so you know, I don't think this is fundamentally impossible, right? Like my belief
No, I don't think
is that yeah, the fundamental component of all of matter is like electric. It's like literally like what holds everything together. And so in theory, if you could strengthen that attractive force, you could contract the matter. The problem is like there's no logically coherent way, in my opinion, unless I'm just like I was distracted right then, right? Like where the motion causes like motion specifically that affects it's like specific to motion. I don't even see the correlation.
Mm. I would look up the formula for the Lorentz force. So the force on a charged particle in a magnetic field is its charge multiplied by its velocity multiplied by the strength of the magnetic field. So right there, if you double the velocity of a particle, you double the magnetic force on it. If you triple its velocity, you triple the magnetic force on it.
So then you're saying that you think that the motion is strengthening the magnetic field of the arm?
It's strengthening magnetic forces like between the atoms in the arm. Yeah.
Okay.
And that will contract the length of the object. That will pull an
Right.
object's length in if all of its atoms attract to their neighbors a bit stronger.
Okay, so but then in theory, you would be saying that this is happening to everything at all times.
Yeah,
Right.
as a function of its velocity, as a function of
Of
its
the
motion.
orbital velocity.
Sure, any velocity.
Right. So then like everything on Earth would already be doing this. And
Right. So trying to measure. So we're not going to. We on Earth moving with Earth, looking at something else that's also moving. Like we're all moving at the same speed. So we'd be comparing things against each other from that are all already contracted by the same amount. Which is why you want to compare a moving object against like a ruler or a distance measure of some kind that's not moving. A stationary background ruler and then like a speeding object in front of it and film it on like super high speed camera to directly see if the moving object is shorter while in motion compared to then when you pick it up at the end and measure it while it's stationary.
well, the issue is right, like if the apparatus itself changed speed, then in theory it should change the contraction, even if slightly, but detectable, probably right. I mean, um actually pretty damn detectable because the orbital motion is not really going to be in this situation. And then like why wouldn't different materials be affected differently? Right? Like if say you say there's a certain change in the magnetic strength between the particles of the material relative to the motion, but you
Mhm.
have two different types of material, then wouldn't that increase in magnetic strength affect, say, the weaker, less dense material more than it would a stronger, denser material?
No, though I get why that would probably be um, people's intuition on this. But the thing is that the magnetic force, the like the variables are independent of each other, right? So you could have a very dense material, let's say with a lot of very powerfully charged atoms and very strong forces attracting one neighboring atom to the next, or a material that's like very electrically different. But the magnetic force is charge times velocity times magnetic field. So all three of those variables are independent of each other. Like you could double any of them and it doubles the overall force while keeping the rest of it the same. So because you're not changing anything else about it other than its speed, a velocity change is going to have the same effect on all materials, regardless of the differences of the charges of the things inside them that physically make them. It's just going to be the same contraction across the board. Because the
Mm,
dependence of magnetic forces on velocity is just like simple linear and
yeah,
independent of
yeah,
the
but
other variables. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's not disputed. It's just the net effect, right? But and like this is what Lorentz himself said. What else Lorentz said? Because then they do the test, right? And it's like um Thorndike. There's like I think it's the Kennedy Thorndike or something like that. And then there's another test from Troughton or whatever, right? And so then one of the problems is the velocity of the orbit of Earth's orbit changes throughout the year. So if length contraction was happening like a physical mechanism like that, then the different speed through the ether would cause a different like a noticeable shift like through the ether across the seasons basically. but they did that in, I think, the Thorndike experiment, and it didn't do that, right? Like it couldn't cancel out the ether wind at every applicable velocity. And then there was also like I don't think I'm getting these mixed up, right? Like the Troughton one, whatever, which was about like the electrostatic component. And so say like the physical object contracts due to its motion through the ether, then they took like that means that a moving capacitor should experience like a torque in that the ether wind, but they tested it and didn't find it. Right.
I'm not familiar with that experiment, but I could look it up.
Yeah, just I would be curious to hear your take on this. I'm understanding those are both like in the realm of testing Lorentz's initial hypothesis, which was like basically a mechanical contraction because of ether. And of course, he used
Yeah.
Lorentz equations. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, again, even with the Earth having different velocities at different times of the year around the sun, the point was still that whatever the Earth's velocity is, the fringe pattern is comparing the right, the timing of light going back and forth in one direction versus a different direction in the interferometer, and the fact that the interferometer is moving in a particular direction is going to affect that. But if there's this contraction effect of the arm of the interferometer that's pointing in the direction that it's moving, that out the effect that would be there from its velocity. So however something's moving in whatever direction and whatever speed, yeah, like if this cancellation occurs, it occurs in all cases. So you'd not be able to detect the contraction if you're part of the thing being contracted, like from
Can
the
I
inside. You'd
can
have
I
to
ask
look at it
you
from the outside.
can I ask you some question? Like, so I'm trying to figure out your position, right? So you're a Glober, and you do believe in the ether, or is it? I mean, you keep arguing from
Well, he
saying
just
the
he, he
ether.
just well, he just thinks something more akin to the ether is accurate.
Okay, more akin to the
Yeah,
ether, but a Glober, but a particle physicist, right? Like you believe in particle like
He believes
version
more
of
in
the
like a
ether.
quantum field theory with the permeating field. Like a lot of quantum physicists
I'm
do
just
that.
curious. So particle, so field, kind of like the ether, less like relativity with nothing.
Um, well, yeah, I in the sense that I think it makes sense to think that space is inhabited by a fundamental substance that has kind of clear properties that can be likened to that of other physical medium. I want to be careful in being specific about what I'm saying, but I think that that's pretty in line with a lot of what I hear about people talking about the concept of the ether.
Yeah, just so this is the other major issue that it's been so long since I read Lorentz about this, but so like you have a component of time dilation that comes into play. So if you have like a real physical mechanism of contraction from the ether interacting with the matter itself, and then the fundamental like electric forces are pulling the atoms tighter together and contracting it relative to its velocity. Then like pretty sure like what Lorentz said, the problem with that is like you need an accompanying time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, I should have clarified. Yes to that too. You also need a clock slowdown effect, by which I mean a process slowdown effect.
So that gets pretty
All
complex,
motion.
right? Because like what
Yeah.
what Lorentz did was say that it was just like a mathematical trick that basically the implications of his physical theory would be that time dilation, like clocks were just tricking you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that people just hadn't yet maybe properly explored what actually happens according to the Maxwell equations when they were wrestling with all these ideas. They knew what the Maxwell equations were, but it doesn't seem that in Lorentz's era people had yet realized that just a fairly straightforward calculation of an atom of one charge orbiting around another shows a time dilation effect. It shows a cycling slowdown effect if the thing is in motion, because when it's in motion, the shift in the magnetic forces between, let's say, the proton and the electron, while it's in
Yeah.
motion, reduce the overall attractive centripetal force and slows down the frequency, the orbital frequency of
Well, this is where
the
okay, but
electron.
this is where it gets kind of okay. But look, so yes, any type of object that you use that's going to quote unquote measure time is going to be affected by physical phenomena, right? Like so, like whether you use an atomic clock or a standard clock or a spring-loaded clock or whatever you use, right? Like basically, a watch just has like a little spring that's unwinding. That's why you have to set them back. Even like our most precise measurement, like atomic clocks, right? We're using magnetic fields and we're attuning the frequencies and utilizing the decay and separating the atoms and the spins and all this. And it's highly precise, but like still is constantly being calibrated. Of course, all of those things would be affected by a magnetic field, an electric field, like any type of variance within those fields. But like philosophically explaining that time itself, regardless of how we measure it, is changing, is different. Right. And that's the thing, right? I mean, Einstein obviously treated time as like a physical thing, right? I mean, like an additional dimension, and it
Yes.
like physically changes. Where so
actually,
with Lorentz, he's saying it's not. He's saying it just would have to be that like all of these devices are tricking you, right? Because if you can't really logically claim a ether that's got like it basically can be absolutely referenced and is physically contracting, interacting with the material world and then simultaneously claim that there's like any type of additional like physical time, right? It like doesn't really work ideologically.
Yo, can I jump in? So sorry I lagged out before. So you got like a mix of quantum and ether and particle physics. All I mean, quantum mixes particle physics, but you're also mixing the ether in there.
If you're
I'll just
talking to
explain.
me, yeah, I'm pro, I guess, a lot of the things that people refer to as an ether framework. I do want to comment historically that Einstein said a lot of different things. At one point, he said time is what a clock measures.
I'm talking about Einstein. We're talking to you, so I'm just curious on your position.
He's responding to me because he already answered your question.
Well, no, I'm happy to
Well,
circle
I
back
have
to it. One
I
thing
have
at
a
a time.
follow up. So real quick. Real quick.
Well, could I
So
just finish the last
if
thought?
you,
Could I just finish the point I was on,
bro,
and then
you
I'm
guys are
happy to
talking
take a
so
question.
much, dude. Can you guys relax? Relax.
Okay, well, look,
You guys,
you can say something after you can
I
respond,
have.
bro. Like,
It'll take like 20 seconds. Dude,
All right,
relax.
go ahead.
Everybody relax.
Oh,
I'm gonna talk, and it's fine. So you guys will be fine. All right. So you are mixing all these theories, all these fields and theories together. Why? Like, I don't understand why you would have a particle physics version of the ether when the undulatory theory matched like almost every prediction except up to a Michelson-Morley test. And then also with Michelson-Morley, it's just the most obvious conclusion is that the Earth is just not moving. So like it has like the stationary ether, undulating ether, no emission, not emission ether. It's just the strongest position. I don't understand why you're just mixing all these things together just to still somehow preserve your particle physics and globe. It makes no sense.
I didn't actually say anything about particle physics. In fact, earlier I was pretty clear that I think that the concept of a particle is kind of outdated and a bit of a misnomer. That my interpretation of what the phenomenon are that we are attributing to particles is that it's our measurements having a detection moment where they have absorbed energy from undulating fields, and like that's what we call a particle. It's not like an object that already existed.
Right. So
It's
that contradicts quantum physics. So you're back to just the ether.
no, it's just an it's an interpretive framework.